Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the weekly Steelchair. And honestly, I've got three things on right now. So I'm here with you guys. On the monitor beside me, I've got the YouTube stream in the background, just so I can have fun with you guys. And on my phone, I've got the United game. Guys, if you want to watch me, the link's already in the chat. So Fletch, good to see you. Matthew, you guys, if you both want to join, by the way, you're more than welcome. I'm going to be long story short. Collision was awful. I bet nobody expected me to say that. But I'm gonna tell you why it was awful in a few minutes. I watched some of Battle of the Valley. Some of it was really good. Some of it flopped, but they need to refresh some of that. Yeah, they did have a show last night as well. There was a lot of wrestling, but the good wrestling was done by New Japan. Like, make of that what you will. Make of that what you will. I honestly I was absolutely fucking disgusted with Collision. Collision was really bad indeed. Jericho as time man. Yeah, long story short, there has been reports that have come out today from fans. There has been podcasters, content creators. There's also been a lot just coming out begging for Jericho to retire. Jericho absolutely should retire now. Forfeit the Ring of Honor World title and just go and either do music or be on creative. He can't move in the ring anymore. And I'm going to tell you right now, see his match when I get to it, I'm going to tear it to shreds. I have, when you look at everything that's been on this week, when you look at all the matches, when you look at all the genuine content that's been around, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I was harsh on some of the bad matches. I was harsh with some of the matches on Raw. I was harsh with the matches on Dynamite. I was harsh with some of the talent that were in matches on Impact. Same with SmackDown yesterday. I'm going to be the exact fucking same when it comes to Collision. There was not a single good match except the opener. Make of that what you will. I'm sorry, but there was only one good match on Collision last night, and it was the opener. Sorry. I'm sorry, folks. Catherine, I'm sorry, but I'm not even going to give them a defence. There's snow here, and yet there was better from the Scottish indie shows than there was from that. I'm sorry, but Collision was a disgrace. Why is Copeland feuding with FTR? Copeland and FTR feuding with Jericho in the first place? Ask Tony Khan. Because he's made a fucking mistake. What's up, Matthew? Good to see you. At least it'll be nice to have somebody here to talk this with me. Catherine, you're more than welcome to join us to try and defend that show. But honestly, last night, Battle of the Valley swamped Collision. It didn't just swamp it by 50%. It was 200%. It completely hammered it. Collision wasn't that good. There was only two good I'm going to say this now, and this might sound incredibly harsh. There was only one good match, one good promo, and one good spot last night, in my opinion. Cope versus Big Bill, great match. Hangman's backstage promo was the best promo on the show. And Powerhouse Hobbs at the very end. Make that what you will. But let me get your thoughts. How are you doing, sir? Obviously, it's been 24 hours, but how are you?
It's yeah, I did the watch along last night for Japan. Didn't get off of that till 2 a.m, and here I am again.
Manic,
I'm not gonna defend what happened. I'm just simply gonna explain it. I was not expecting Collision to be that good.
I think the reality is though, and this is unfortunate for us, but we have to be as honest as we can.
No,
If we said the same thing about WWE, we would get absolutely torn to shreds because we can't hold fairness. We are going to hold it the exact same way. honesty and accountable.
I think what I've come to the conclusion of is that, and see, I was expecting Collision not to be good, not for reasons that everybody always says it.
Yeah.
Athens, Georgia was snowed in, so they had to work with what they could get in the building because they already had paid people there.
No, that's true.
So, I mean, I'm not apologizing for the show, but I understand. I wasn't expecting much going into it because all the talent they had lined up for it, 2/3 of them couldn't even make the show. The guy
I think
they
they should
worked
have.
the guy they worked with, I forget what the jobber's name was. Not
Yeah.
jobber, enhancement talent. I don't like saying jobber.
The
It's a
guy
bad
that
word.
worked for Brody King.
Yeah, the guy that worked with Brody King, that was a last minute gig. Brody King wasn't even
I
supposed to
had nothing
work.
against that. I've got nothing against that. If
I
you're in
mean,
such a situation, I would have done the same.
I
I'm
think
not blaming that in that sense of it. I think that's reasonable. I think that's fair. But when you look at the main talent they had anyway at their disposal,
yeah.
not many of them actually cared. Like, you know what I mean? Like this might sound horrible, but I feel sorry for the fans. Some of the
What I
talent,
think, yeah,
some of the talent last night phoned in a lot of shit, and that is not good enough. I
right,
was hot,
and,
and
what I think Tony needs to do going forward, if he's gonna work this side of the Mississippi,
it's a
if
good.
he's gonna work this side of the Mississippi from November through March, is they need to have, like, and this would be new because I mean, this is what WWE does. This is how they get their shows off. Pause.
Mhm.
Um, they have a talent collection, like, if there's gonna be inclement weather, they get the talent into the town 2 to 3 days in advance. That
Yes,
way they can put the show on that they mean to put on. I mean, you're gonna have weather.
exactly. You should always be prepared in advance. And I'll say this now in the nicest way. I don't think I don't think AEW were prepared.
They
It didn't
weren't,
look it.
and they weren't prepared for the Winston show. They got snowed out on or rained out, one or the other, the Winston show that
There was
happened.
horrible weather for that. Yeah, there was
The
shitty
one in
weather.
Winston-Salem, that wound up happening that way because they had to fly talent in or they had
We
people
did.
had to drive in. I think FTR drove in from Asheville because they could,
Yeah, they
you
drove.
know, and they drove, and Camille came from Durham because Durham's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Winston-Salem. The
That's
local
right.
talent came in and they threw a show together, and it was okay. It just so happens that this one just missed it all the way across the board, and
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of I think it shows that Tony needs to start putting together a game plan for inclement weather. I mean, if you're gonna work
yes.
hurricane areas and a hurricane comes up, you know, it is
This
what it
might
is,
it
you know?
might sound very harsh what I'm about to say next, but it has happened before. If you've got very horrific weather that you physically can't work in, I'm
Mhm.
sorry to all the people that paid for the show. I would have given them an immediate refund and I would have just booked the show for a different day. I wouldn't change the venue. I'd stay the same venue. I'd refund them and I'd just bring them in. You know what? You're in free. I would
Or
be
just
like, you're,
pass the ticket. Don't even refund it. Say whatever you bought, you're in.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. You would think that, but they don't. Catherine, yeah, it's spot on. It was a hurricane. Yeah, I just went and
Yeah.
double checked it. Um, they do need to have talent coming. They didn't. I don't know why. Of all the people that should actually, ironically, and this is what's funny, you've got somebody who's from one of the worst places when it comes to cold snow. Well, actually, a few of them that come from cold snow countries, and you didn't think about it. He should have asked for Copeland and Jericho's advice. Ironically, ironic.
It would be a thought, yeah, but I mean, Jericho, I mean
She's yeah, she's doing other things,
I
which is
mean,
good.
you've got to figure too, also North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina. I live in North Carolina. I've lived in Georgia. I've lived in South Carolina is 20 minutes from me. We
Exactly,
don't have road crews.
and they're
So
all flat Earth.
that's why I said my best advice is you're going to do a show in Athens, Georgia, we have these things called radars. Now, they didn't have them back in the early NWA days, and they still got shows off. Pause.
That's very true. That is very true.
But now we've got these things called radars. We can predict things. Got the internet. You got it all right here on the phone. I mean, I've got an entire computer right here.
It's logic.
That's
another great question. So I've started this question as well, Fletch, but I've got some ideas on that as well. Catherine says she's lived in North Carolina, she's lived in Georgia, she's lived in, I'm assuming that's Ohio and Michigan.
Yeah.
So they're all shitty states. They're all shitty states for weather.
I mean, the difference is, though, the other states are prepared for this. Like, I was explaining to my son the other day, he's like, why in the world is this like this? I'm like, because this happens once every 3 or 4 years. We're not in the business of buying equipment that we're only going to use every 4 years. So when it comes around, we depend on a lot of things. Like where I live, the farmers plowed the roads.
Because they've got the tools available for them.
They've got the
tractors, they've got the diggers. They need to do all that shit.
Yeah, we don't need to pay extra taxes on equipment we're not going to use. I mean, This just doesn't make sense. So, but the point of all that is you're looking at the radar and you're like, this storm could probably fuck up my entire show. Maybe just once I call everybody involved and say,
can you get it early?
Let's get a hotel. I'll pay for the hotel in Athens. We'll book an entire hotel. Yeah. You guys show up to that hotel. That way you'll be safe. Nobody will be hanging around you or nothing. I'll book the whole hotel.
And you won't be late.
And you won't be late for work. You'll be there.
Exactly. It's not a big ask. You know what I mean? Like it's very, very simple. It's very, very quick. It's out the way. It's dealt with. But instead, they didn't, and the show lacked a lot from this. Like there were so many talents on the show that didn't even deserve to be there. There was matches that were in the wrong order. Again, Collision had the exact same problem that we said about Dynamite. Order was fucked up. And also, the worst match on the card was the main event.
It was pretty bad.
And there's actually a moment that's been clipped up hundreds of times by people on Twitter as well. We're going to come to it, but there's an exact moment that we will be talking about that is genuinely criminal. Fletch, I will answer this question compared to the other two you've asked because they're show related. But I'll ask this now: is there any chance we get Speedball in New Japan instead of AEW? Yes, you will get that because of his links to Maple Leaf. He won't be going to AEW. AEW's actually passed on Speedball, which
I don't blame him. I don't, and I don't. I don't for a lot of reasons. I know the backstory on a few of those things, but
he's somebody they shouldn't be passing on, in my opinion, because he's an excellent wrestler.
They don't need every puppy in the pound, and that's part of it. That's the whole thing. I mean, they
don't need everybody. I do agree, but I would start phasing out some of those veterans that can't go anymore, and I would have put Speedball in that ring. Especially because he's division, he brings someone different. We spoke about, ironically, Carmelo Hayes last night.
Yeah,
and there's like 150 Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah,
and Speedball. There's only one Speedball type wrestler, and there's no one else that really is similar to him. So he would have been different, unique in AEW. There's so many commanders. There's so many. Actually, Commander's actually the basic point because every match wrestler is just literally based on Commander that comes in AEW. When you look at apart from the Lucha Brothers, they were unique differently. Commander, they're all the same. It would have been a little bit different to have someone like Speedball because Speedball against the Death Riders would have been so much better.
I think it would, but the big problem with Speedball right now, today, and I still don't think AEW's lost him. I think that's a work. I really do. I think a lot of that's a work to protect him with everything he's been doing for TNA. TNA and AEW don't get along right now.
Because of Tony Khan.
No, I don't think. I mean,
unfortunately, most of it is. It's not. It's, to be fair, it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, Tony is different, and I'm not apologizing for him or anything. I'm just coming around to seeing his vision. and it's taken a while. I'll put it that way.
Oh yeah, what could have happened in 2020, 2021 between TNA and AEW could have been better if one thing had just got right. You just present them a little bit differently on their TV. There was very little promotion from like TNA present, like obviously did do a lot of presentation and promotion for AEW in their shows. But on the flip side, there was very little promoting from AEW for TNA, which doesn't help. That's where other TNA fans obviously have a different perspective, but for me, consistently, it's always been the promotional side was why I think it never worked out. It was a little bit more big-headed in one way, and there was no really any need. That's what hurt the partnership. And ironically, it's the same problem with TNA and WWE. It's the same problem. It's one's promoting the other big, the other isn't promoting as much. The only one that actually worked for TNA was the very first New Japan partnership. The first time. The second time, not so much.
I'll interject something here. What did WWE send back to TNA?
Nothing.
Right. Okay. What did TNA send to WWE? Jordan Grace, Joe Hendry,
there's more than that.
Hammerstone.
Definitely Gilla. I'll tell you exactly who. To be fair, people are going to come back and say, "Well, TNA took Kurt Edge." I'll tell you who they sent.
Yeah, I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere.
You are. But you asked the question. I'll tell you who they sent.
Yeah.
Bobby Roode.
Right.
They sent Bobby Roode, who's now one of their best producers.
Right.
Chris Parks, formerly Abyss, their best producer. JB, Jeremy Borash, head of their social media and the producer. You've got Nick Aldis. Whether what people like about him or not, it's another fact. Nick Aldis is another top producer. He's also a top worker when he wants to be. He's not a good promo, but he's a good worker.
Right.
All those guys. Pete Williams, Canadian Destroyer. He's one of their top agents.
Right. Besides
all the talent they've got with the NXT deal, on the main division, those are key guys that they've got from TNA.
Correct. Now, when Tony sent Kenny Omega, do you think that was a jobber?
No, it was just done annoying. It was just unfortunate that he was working with the wrong guys.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's not his fault.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is Tony tried to send his best in exchange, and it just wasn't received well. And I think part and partial to that was TNA's insistence on being mediocre. That's why they got rid of Scott D'Amore, because Scott D'Amore is not mediocre. Scott D'Amore is a phenomenal booker. He's a phenomenal booker. And I don't know that. And the problem that I have with trying to get into TNA, because I love TNA, don't get me wrong. I watched it during the beginning years, the NWA transition, the whole 9 yards.
They were great.
Yeah, and I like TNA, but I think that they are insistent on, and they're dying on the heel of mediocre. And they don't. And that's why. And I know you love TNA. Don't get me wrong. I know you love.
I can deal with them in that way.
But I'm saying it. To my opinion, the 3 or 4 times that I have sat down and seriously and critically tried to watch some of the new stuff, I think they are insistent on twerking and being mediocre, and that's not going to work for them. They're 100,000 views. They're not 1 million. And they're doing everything in the world they can to get that number up, except like having Scott D'Amore do the booking. The reason they got hot was Scott D'Amore. His booking got them hot.
Yeah, there was just one problem. There was just one problem with that. He was so insistent, and this is an issue I've said about favorites. He was the exact same. He was booking his favorites too strongly. Now, the only one that actually deserves strong booking. Oh, nice! United are 3-1 up on penalties against Arsenal. Stuck up, you bastards. The only way with Scott D'Amore is he tried to get too much. Even though he was already the head of the creative and he was already the president, he was trying to get even more power. Than what he needed, and with that, the problem is he was going to put more of his talents into the exact same position and keep them there instead of allowing other new fresh talent to come in and try and embed. The minute he got chucked out the organization, they're doing bigger arenas, which is another thing that he ironically never went for. He never went for any bigger venues. Why, I don't know. That's something I actually would love to know. But there's so many. I've got no issues with Scott D'Amore at all. Like, I never wanted him to go in the first place. I wanted him to be given more financial backing from Anthem. They signed a new deal with Sportsnet, so there's bigger finances with Canada on the production. Great, cool, no problem with that. They're still doing the bigger venues. I still would have kept Scott D'Amore anyway, but again, the rumors came out that he was just trying and as much as he can to get more power. He was trying to buy out the company with whatever amount of money he actually had. Anthem is their biggest weekly consistent product. They're not going to ship that out, not unless a big amount of money comes around. There was so many things wrong. Like I'm saying, like again, it's a variety of things that were wrong, and no partnership in pro wrestling is perfect. And people are trying to say one is right, the other's wrong. I'm not. Every partnership I've ever seen in pro wrestling has failed.
Yeah, and the big piece of that though is the story has been the same since I watched TNA. I watched TNA consistently. Back when it was on the Nashville network, I watched it very consistently, and everything. But the problem has never changed, and I think the big piece of it is Scott D'Amore saw it as baby steps into an arena, because Jim Crockett didn't start off in the Charlotte Coliseum and the Greensboro Coliseum and the Winston-Salem Coliseum. He started off in bingo halls. Literally, NWA shows were shot in bingo halls, like seated 300. Some of them seated 20. And the television taping for the show only seated like 100 people, and they had 100 handpicked fans that came in. And when it moved to TBS Studios, it was still 100 handpicked fans that knew how to be fans during the show. It was all choreographed. And then they worked into it. Then they came in. Then they got into the 50,000 seaters.
Yes.
You know, and if you rush to do this, this is where this is either going to be a sink or swim proposition. They're either going to do really, really well, or they're going to ship their mess kit.
I think as well, you've got, I think this is another thing that's maybe I've got the indictment of D'Amore and from where it was bad. My biggest issue, and the reality of it is, they were running so very small venued arenas for so long, like 5 years straight, up until the end of last year. Their biggest venues were last year, like that they've done in a decade. They were running very small venues for the past 5-6 years. And the worst thing about it is where more of the memes came out saying they're only appealing to like 30-40 fans, which is a fucking lie.
Yeah,
like, it's a lie.
Yeah,
but the talent was there. They actually had the talent to go and do slightly bigger arenas. Like, you're telling me that you can't do a 2,500, 4,000 arena stadium at the time in 2020, well, not 2020, but 2021, 2022 with world champion Josh Alexander, Deonna Purrazzo, Mickey James, Taylor Wilde, Steve Macklin's just come in fresh. You've got Eric Young as a heel who's actually looking better than he was. Well, now he's not so much, but you know what I mean? Like, it was there, and Speedball was at the top of his game. How can you not go and do it then? You know what I mean? It made no sense.
Because the formula is right in front of everybody. They just refuse to see it. Now, Tony Khan is starting to get on board. Now, I'm giving him credit for this, and I realized the show was rough last night, and I'm not apologizing for it. The one thing Tony Khan is doing correctly, and this is what I've said to every promotion, because this is where the WWE found their footing. Colleges do those university shows. It's guaranteed money. The university's going to pitch you some money for showing up. So you got your expenses covered. Then all you got to do is sell tickets, and it's gravy. Now, Tony Khan's starting to do that. See, a lot of people think WWE is this great big juggernaut, and it just did this, and everything they did turned into gold. Bullshit. They cut their teeth. And if you go back and watch all those early Raws, 2 out of every 3 early Raws, University of South Carolina, University of Penn State University, Carolina, UCLA, you name it. They did the college thing and they got those college kids all into this shit with cheap tickets because the university was already paying their expenses to come in. Now, if TNA wants to make it, that's the ship they need to jump on. They'll get those, if they get to that, they'll get to those arenas easily.
They've already, to be fair, so far they've been doing quite well for selling out. I mean, you've picked an 8,500 seater stadium for the pay-per-view next Sunday, and it's sold out, which is crazy for them. Like, they haven't done an arena that big since 2012. I believe it's 2012, 2013. They've not done an 8,000 seater stadium like that, and that was a 10,000 seater stadium. So I'm actually really glad. I'm glad for that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that they should go and do. I mean, they were doing weekly TV in front of 1,200 people back in Universal Studios week before they done travel shows, and they were still the hottest crowds. If they do 2,500 seater stadiums, arenas every week, I'd be fine with that. Like, I'm not asking them to do 5,000. I'm saying 2,500 to 3,000 is enough. They'll still make money.
Yeah, see, Tony Khan's finding that right now because the seating for this, and everybody's like, oh, he's going into small stuff. They're dead in the mud. Then I go, you know what? WWE shot one at the University of South Carolina. 10,000 students showed up, and it was a free fucking ticket, and they had room for 20,000. So leave me alone.
And it was a good event.
It was a great event. That was the one. That was the one where Triple H born the new thing that Vince McMahon loves the cock. You know,
and it was genuinely funny, but it was actually a brilliant segment.
Right, but that's what people don't understand is that stadium, the place they were at, everybody was in there for free. Nobody got charged for anything. The university paid for them to come, and they still couldn't pack the thing out, and it was free. That's the part nobody talks about, and that's when WWE was at its hottest.
It was.
It wasn't, it's not, and it never will be, but you can't convince fans of that.
They were just about to go into the PG era as well. But, well, this was about a year a year and a half shy of the PG era, but it kind of started, ironically, from this show. Like, some of it did start, it was nothing to do with Levesque and Michaels, to be fair. They actually weren't. They were the only PG guys that weren't on the show, funnily enough. But it did start with that.
TNA is on the right track, because what I'm trying to say is TNA is on the right track. AEW is on the right track.
They are, and I like that. Absolutely, and that's what I like. And I want to see them all do well. I've got nothing against that. Oh yeah, revisionist history is everywhere. I'm going to answer that. Revisionist history is great. Fletch, I've starred all your comments, buddy. So I'm actually going to go through all your comments now before we review Collision. So. This was the first question. Before we review the first match, which I did like, to be fair, I was being a bit harsh. There were some good matches except the main event, but there's some things that I think can maybe change a little bit. Anyway, so Fletch's first question from his 8-star comments. Do you think Malachi could return to feud with Colt for manipulating his House of Black members to leave? I would like that, but I think the writing's already on the wall. I think he's already gone. But I think it could lead to the House of Black duo being led by Julia Hart or Brody King, and they just stay as a group together. They don't need to add anybody. They don't need anyone else.
No, they've got enough for a singles run. They've got enough. They might need one more dude if they want to hold the trios goal. They might need one more dude if they want to do the trios goal, which they don't. Malachi Black is. I've been doing research on this. When I woke up this morning, first thing I did was sit down and research Malachi Black a little bit. Malachi Black is Steve Austin with an intellect that's much higher than Steve Austin's. Okay, that's basically it. The thing that I get out of Malachi Black is and I'm not comparing him star wise to Steve Austin, but talent wise, he's much better. And that's a controversial take, but Malachi Black's talent is much better than Steve Austin's. Steve Austin's.
If he didn't get, I would say pre neck injury against Owen Hart. I think after that, I would concur. But if we're talking like pre that neck injury, Malachi Black doesn't come close to Stone Cold.
No, he does. He just doesn't have the mic skills. He doesn't have mics. That's what I was getting ready to say. Talent-wise, ring talent, move sets, he's a man of probably he's got roughly about 60 different modes he can go into. Steve
he does.
Austin
It's
has
mad.
3. Steve Austin has 3.
He had to do that on purpose, to be fair.
Yeah, and
yeah, which is unfortunate, but I do
I
agree
mean,
with you in that to that extent. I do agree
yeah.
to that extent. Yeah.
So he's one of these that picks up his ball and goes home when things don't. I was making a correlation to that part of it.
Great callback.
Yeah, he when things aren't going his way, he just picks up his ball and goes home. He doesn't
Yeah.
realize that his mic skills are not there. In other words, he's a hell of a talent in the ring. If all I had to do was wrestle with him, if all I needed him for is a wrestler, I'm banking.
It's
But
like having a good match with Claudio. Claudio, to be fair, good wrestler. Can he talk as strongly as most? No. But
he can't.
He's a very good worker.
And I blame all of them the same way that I blame Americans that go work. You know, if an American's going to go work, or if a native like somebody who's born and raised in America wants to go work in Japan and they want to be good at it, first thing they need to do is learn the language. Next thing they need to do is learn the talent. The language comes before the talent, because I don't care how good a wrestler you are. New Japan's got a ton of good wrestlers that never go anywhere because they can't speak Japanese.
Bingo.
And that's the whole thing of it. So the same thing with Malachi Black, same thing with Claudio. Pac is coming around to this now. He's getting his language right. So he's cutting hellaciously good promos in the United States. So he works in the United States. I think Malachi Black, or Malachi, whatever we're calling him, whatever his name is, I don't really care.
We'll just stick to Malachi. I actually can't. You know, it's funny. Malachi sounds better like with one name than two.
Yeah, one name. But I'm just saying that Malachi, Claudio, who else?
Wheeler Yuta.
Shibata Brett.
Oh, him as well.
Problem.
Yeah.
Shibata with that damn phone typing and having his speak. No, if you want to be good, forget the in-ring stuff. And I'm not saying forget it as in don't wrestle. The wrestling comes second to a lot of people these days. They're old school. They would have done fine in 80s NWA because they wouldn't have had to talk. They just show up, be dominant motherfuckers, and call it a day. Now you have to be able to talk.
This is why, annoyingly, Chris Jericho will continue to get TV time, because Chris Jericho is still good on the mic.
He's so good on the mic, and it makes me sick. I really, I mean, it makes me, because you're exactly right. That's the reason he's like that cockroach you just can't stomp out.
Yeah.
He just keeps popping right back up in your face, and it doesn't matter. You can spray him with Raid, you can hit him with a shoe, and he just shows right back up.
You could put Chris Jericho.
He can communicate.
This might sound very controversial, but I'm going to make the point. If Chris Jericho was in Nagasaki in 1945 when the atomic bomb was dropped on them, he would have survived that.
Yeah, he'd have survived
because he would have spoke his way out. He would have spoke his way out.
You can't kill me. I'm the learning tree.
Fletch, you're fine. Keep asking questions because I've got all your comments, by the way. So this is a good one. I liked it. His next question is: yesterday I was thinking about Omega's AEW return with his face of Okada and Don Callis segment. Could Okada join Don Callis? I did touch up on that a little bit on Wednesday, and it was something I had in mind. This is going to be the all-in main event, by the way. I'm telling you guys now already, 12th of January 2025, I'm telling you the main event of All in Texas will be Okada versus Kenny Omega. But Okada will not be with Don Callis. He'll be on his own. And he will be at his best physical shape to deal with Kenny Omega. You're going to see the two of them at their best physically.
I think Tony's between a rock and a hard place on this one. Go ahead. I've got a different take, but go ahead.
I think that you're going to get the elements of it. It's not going to be like their Dominion match. It's not going to be 2 or 3 falls. It's not going to be a 60-minute draw. It's not going to be 90 minutes with no rules, because obviously the Japanese creative and New Japan went, we're taking away all the rules. We're going to make it fight to the finish. This one is purely going to be Okada will be told, I would say, I think after Double or Nothing, even though everybody's pretty much picked up that it's going to be Okada versus Omega All In, I think Okada will be told after Double or Nothing, right, this is the plan. You are going back to Japan. Not because we're getting rid of you, but you're going back to Japan. You're going to get yourself in shape for the Omega match. And Omega, I guarantee, will work some Japanese shows. They will work more shows in between for Japan, so they are in the shape to come back to Texas, and you're going to get a main event that's going to go about 45, 60 minutes. Those two are going to go for it. That's what I'm thinking personally. It won't be for a title, by the way. It won't be for a title. It will just be the two of them going at it because it'll be the fifth match. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they don't need a title in that match, but I think at this point in time, especially after last night, I think Tony Khan's between a rock and a hard place on this one.
He is.
You say Okada, I say Takeshita. Takeshita has got to be in that main event picture on his biggest shows. He's got to be there.
I do agree. I do agree, but
the way around it. I don't.
I don't disagree. The only thing is, though, is they are clearly going to work their way towards Okada versus Omega. Takeshita's not main eventing one of those two at All In. But that's not a bad thing either because he's still going to be dominating the main event scene. I think he's going to be.
I just the way Takeshita worked that match last night because he showed us a version that I haven't seen, and I've watched a lot. I'm a Takeshita moron at this point.
A mark.
I'm not even a mark. I'm past a mark. I'm a moron for this guy. Seriously, I mean, there's such a thing as mark, and then there's such a thing as
Stan culture. Stan culture's gone to his.
I'm not there. I mean, I'm not there. It's not in a weird kind of way or anything, but watching him last night peel back another layer of that onion to let.
I agree with Catherine. It'll be next year's main event. I agree.
So I don't know. I got a feeling he's gotten to that undeniable point now because he's on every single damn. Name a show that Takeshita. Name a big show from Defy, New Japan, AEW, CMLL for that much, AAA almost, but nobody likes Conan, so nobody's going to work that. MLP, 2 double main event. He main evented both nights of MLP. He main evented Defy. He's main evented. The only thing I haven't seen him show up in is GCW and Stardom yet. I figure he could put some makeup on and work a Stardom match. I'm not even.
Well, he's got DDT still. He's still signed to DDT. He's signed to New Japan. He's signed to AEW. The problem is, and this is the biggest thing about Takeshita, he needs to be careful about. Takeshita. Oh yeah, 100%, Catherine. Putting Takeshita with Don Callis was genius.
Oh, it was. It was very smart. Don Callis is a good man, but I'm saying that Takeshita has worked his way into being undeniable. There is no way in the world at this point. Like, I'm expecting him to. He's going to main event the Chicago show for New Japan.
Oh yeah, he'll be the Windy City main event. 100%. He will be the main event, April 11th.
Yeah,
the day before my birthday, he'll be.
He's going to main event that show. He's probably going to main event the New Japan show coming up as well, New Beginnings. He's probably going to main event at least one night of that because it's a 2-nighter too.
It'll be that or Sakura.
Getting the energy for that.
I think the one that the real test for Takeshita is if you put him with if you put him on Sakura Genesis. He ain't gonna win the New Japan Cup, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's involved in the main event though of Sakura Genesis. If he does that, then if he main events all those shows, by the way, this might sound controversial, but if he main events all those shows, New Japan are in trouble. It's not because he's a bad wrestler, but if he is main eventing all those shows, they're in trouble because that will really controvert the opinion of who is actually the main event here. Is it meant to be Konosuke Takeshita? Is it meant to be Gabe Kidd? Is it David Finlay? Or is it Zack Sabre Jr.? They're in trouble because you need to really lay it in the right way.
Zach wasn't even the main event last night.
No,
Zack Sabre Jr. wasn't even the main event, and they learned that from Wrestle Dynasty because after Gabe Kidd and Kenny Omega, that should have been. We said that 100 times. It should have been the main event, and Zack Sabre should have been behind him. they did the show right last night. The Zack Sabre Jr. match was awesome.
Yes, it
But
was.
it also followed that Sumi match that's the first time I've seen a New Japan retirement match, and that thing was beautiful. I was crying. I was literally crying through the whole match.
Me too. I liked the way it was done. It was very, very fitting. It was really good. What's up, guys? I'm coming back to your comments. We're still going through Fletch's fantastic questions. His next one is: I've been begging since Claudio Castagnoli signed with AEW for him to go to New Japan, have a run, maybe do a G1. He did the tournament in Mexico, but the G1 would be more memorable.
Yes,
I've said it before. I've said it before. Claudio Castagnoli is one of 3 wrestlers, one in TNA, one in AEW, and ironically, one in WWE. I want to see do the G1. I want to see Sheamus do it. I want to see Claudio do it, and I want to see Josh Alexander do it.
Josh Alexander be your next. What do they call them people that are foreigners that win that thing? Gaijin. He'd be your next Gaijin right there. I don't think Claudio. I don't think Claudio would be because of his age, but Josh Alexander.
I think the next shot, unfortunately, I think the next one, because there's already been heavy talks, I think the next Gaijin to go through the G1 is Baron Corbin. Because there's talks about him going over to Japan, so I'm not sure. I don't think Claudio's going to do the G1, but I would be all in for it. I really would. Next question: since Takeshi is now officially part of the New Japan roster, do you think the plans to have Takeshi be the one to dethrone the mighty Zack Sabre Jr.? No. For me, it's either, like what I said on the Wrestle Kingdom review, for me, the person who should dethrone Zack Sabre Jr. is David Finlay. David Finlay should do it because the writing's on the wall. By the end of this year, you need to have Gabe Kidd challenging David Finlay for the control and leadership of Bullet Club. Gabe Kidd should go into Wrestle Kingdom 20 as the G1 winner. In my opinion, Gabe Kidd should win the G1. David Finlay should win the world title, and it should be title and control of Bullet Club at Wrestle Kingdom 20. It would be the right passing of the torch for me. And because it's Tanahashi's retirement event, he will 100% be in his corner to combat Jado.
Yeah, not to mention that'll keep David Finlay in New Japan instead of him running off to WWE.
Exactly.
That'll keep his talent there. That'll keep his talent there if he's being booked properly.
And they should. It would be fantastic. Next questions. I think. Oh yeah, just a comment. I think that they were all bad. They just don't know what they're doing. The worst thing is, no one works well. I don't know why. I actually don't know why, and that's wrestling for you. It's painful. No, they don't, but they'll get back. I think controversially, despite being associated with WWE, I think at one point you will get TNA back with AEW, and I think they've done it with New Japan. They hashed out. That's why Umura had a good run before he went back, and he turned heel. The one thing TNA really prides on is their work with other promotions and their partnerships. I think they will try as hard as they can to rekindle with AEW. And I think you'll see this time be a bit more 50-50. And it'll be appreciated back and forth. I believe that. It might not be this year, but I think in the next couple of years it'll happen.
Yeah.
Is Commander the AEW Dragon Lee? Yes. Yes. They're exactly the same. They're exactly the same.
Yeah, Dragon Lee is that's a sad reminder of what happens when you go somewhere when somebody doesn't know how to book your style and book. WWE doesn't coalesce very well with anybody because they have a set way. In other words, it's kind of like I worked for Apple for several years. I worked for Apple.
Oh dear God.
Okay, when you go into Apple, it's the Apple way. And we're the best, and we're this, and we're that, and we're the other. The reason nobody works well with WWE is because A, they're not the best, but they think they are. And they've got numbers to say, well, we've got all these numbers. Guess who else had numbers? A dude in Germany in 33 had the numbers. He still wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. Oh, you can't make that. Yeah, I can make that comparison because the whole damn country followed him. Exactly. And it still wasn't good. So don't tell me about numbers and cash and all that other stuff. We've already seen that happen. without mentioning any names because we don't want to screw the stream up, but
No.
there was a guy in Germany. There was a
I
guy
get compared to him. I get compared to him a lot. Trust me. I don't want to get
No, I
another
mean
comparison.
there was a guy in Germany in the 30s that was Times Man of the Year. He was still wrong. He was still an idiot, and it was still stupid. But he was popular till he
And a
wasn't.
mass killer. And a
You know,
mass killer.
but yeah, I mean that's the whole point. If you're going by numbers and ratings, he had the highest rating in the world. He was Times Man of the Year. You know, it doesn't get any better than that in the 30s, okay? But he was still
Pure
wrong.
madness.
Same
Yeah.
thing. Same thing with WWE. I mean, they have the numbers. They have the rating. They also have the Mandolin effect. But you know,
it's all
so
about getting it right.
yeah, but
Trust
they're
me,
not
Catherine, I've
good.
wrote a lot as well, and the stuff
I
I've
mean,
written could get me in. Like the stuff I wrote, if I'd really submitted, I would have won a Pulitzer Prize. Put it that way. This is the last question I did start from Fletch, but I'm going to come on to your comments in a minute, guys, before we actually review Cope versus Big Bill. This comment here, I want to, well, this question and follow-up comment from Fletch is an important one because I have a very controversial take. But the question is, I want to ask you both, what are your thoughts on the AEW commentary table? I feel like with Shivani, Taz, and Excalibur, it gets a little boring sometimes. I'm going to say something right now, and I stand firm on this. AEW's commentary going forward should be Nigel McGuinness and Ian Riccaboni.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I think Taz, to his degree, he is a good commentator, but he isn't what he is anymore. Tony Schiavone should just be doing interviews. Excalibur's boring. And Daddy Magic should never be on commentary. I'm sick of him constantly being out for Daniel Garcia matches. His commentary is so biased. It's genuinely rubbish.
It's bad. It's really bad.
It needs to change. It needs to die. For me, Ian Riccaboni and Nigel McGuinness should be their commentary. And JR for Dynamite main events for the last hour. That's it.
Yeah, I think Tony Schiavone should be in the back training and training the next generation. And in fact, they've got people in the building that are really good at it. The problem is they're still under an NDA. But
Callis on commentary, that's a great shout. Don Callis on commentary, he's brilliant at selling a heel. He's actually better at selling a heel than Nigel is, to be fair.
And to be fair to Chris Jericho, I can't stand. I don't want him within a million miles of a
He's
ring.
a good commentator.
I have a feeling if you set him down at that booth, he could be Jerry the King Lawler without all the sexist jokes.
I actually think when he started doing the commentary when Rampage first started, he was calling good. He was calling really well. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Like, it's mental that he called the Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega TNA World Title match, and he called it like he was a commentating veteran. You know what I mean? Like, it was actually really good stuff, and he deserves more. I would put him on commentary. It'd be clever.
And once again, somebody needs to set Tony down and say, look, Warner Brothers dropped a bag off at your desk. You don't need the same homeless people anymore.
No, exactly.
We're good. We don't need the same hobos that we've had. You can find better hobos. Trust me.
Absolutely.
You can find them. They're all out there. I mean, listening to, as much as I don't like her, Veda Scott is way more entertaining than Excalibur. I don't like her personally, but she's much more entertaining.
She speaks really well. Really well. This is an interesting one. That's an Where do you think this Christian and Hook angle will go? I'm not feeling it all, to be honest. I think Hook doesn't really have what it takes to be successful in AEW. The problem with Hook is one of many that's got all the talent in the world, but he's more bland than a nun trying to get the touch off the Pope.
Hey, yo.
It's really, really awful. Christian is already doing great work with Kip Sabian and recruiting him into the patriarchy. Hook should be nowhere near the next world champion. Hook should be putting over the top guys on shows. I'm sorry, I like Hook's a decent guy, but for me, he's finished. He doesn't offer much, and I'll say this controversial as well. Hook doesn't succeed in WWE either. He doesn't.
No, I would disagree with you on that because they just repackage him like they did Lexus King. They'll just repackage him into something goofy looking like that.
But he wouldn't be successful, though.
You see, to them, it's not about success. It's about capturing a niche audience. That's what
You're
it
not
is.
going to. But what niche does he appeal? What niche does he appeal to? The nepotist who can only do a couple of exploder suplexes and wears shorts because he doesn't have much offering. I've seen Hook alive a few times, and honestly, I was at All In back in August when he was wrestling. When he wrestled Chris Jericho, I went to the merch stands and I went and bought merch instead. I came back at the moment he made Jericho tap out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. What I'm trying to say though is WWE has so many niche audiences that
I like
mean,
your questions.
maybe he would appeal to that emo Brooklynite. I don't know. Maybe they're looking for somebody to appeal to emo Brooklynites. But his biggest problem is he's good until he opens his mouth, and when he opens his mouth, it sounds like a bad rendition of Rocky. Hey, yo,
oh yeah,
you are my.
It's so bad.
Sounds like a bad version of Rocky with Tourette's syndrome. I mean, seriously.
Good way to put it. And absolutely, Catherine, he can speak Japanese. Why? Because he made the time and effort to learn the language.
And that's not an easy language to learn. Chinese suck. Japanese is worse.
I've tried learning Mandarin. It's difficult, but Japanese is on my bucket list because I want to move to Japan. First guy Copeland mentioned when Rated FTR officially returned was Darby Allin. I don't know why, but I see Darby join this Rated FTR. I hope not to dethrone Moxley. According to creative plans, the plan is to get Darby to dethrone Moxley because they're building Death Riders like their NWO, and Darby's being built like their Sting.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind it, to be honest. It's a good angle, but for me, the better angle is Copeland wins the world title and then Christian immediately steals it from him. It's a much better angle, but obviously you want to see more from your homegrown, I suppose. But
yeah,
I'm not sure. But we'll see what happens. But I had a controversial take. Darby Allin should just go and join the House of Black instead.
Yeah, there you go. That would be a good spot for him because, I mean, he's, in all honesty, I don't see the Allin. I like Darby Allin, but I don't see him as a world champion. I don't. And I don't see.
I think it would be like a moment. It would be like a good moment, but he's not somebody you can depend on. This is a scary thing as well. Would you like to see a heel trio between Mass, Dominic, Penta, and Rey Fenix? I want Penta and Rey Fenix to be away from every single one of the clowns that are in WWE that's either lucha-based or have some sort of connection to Mexico. Keep them away and let them do their own thing.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
When Penta goes up next week on Raw, he should just be breaking people's arms and doing the Penta driver and leaving. He should not be associated with their Mexican verse because they don't know what they're doing. And it's quite scary. What's up, James? How are you, my buddy?
Machine Guns got there, when Motor City Machine Guns got there and got the title in 2 weeks, and now they're clowning them. That's exactly what they're going to do to Penta. Get ready for it. It's coming. I don't care. I stand on that.
For it. I'm scared for it because I'm a Penta fan going back a very long time, and they love their respect. Caprice also runs ASE Wrestling. Yeah, that's very true. Catherine says she likes Taz on commentary. Callis is great. Caprice Coleman, who does Ring of Honor, is great too. I do like Caprice. Taz on commentary has his moments where he's really good, and then there's moments where he's so dull, and it's really boring. It is really boring. Please, rule number one of the chat, besides respecting the audience and respecting the panelists, never apologize. Don't fucking apologize. You've got
you don't owe anybody an apology. You got a question. That's what we're here for.
Your comment, your chat, just like James's chat, just like Catherine's chat, like Abel's chat, Catherine's, the lot of you, all your chats welcome. Don't apologize. Just start taking the piss and have fun. As for Jim Ross, we would have loved him in his prime to do commentary weekly. I know, I would have done. There's no second version of JR for commentary coming through. That's really difficult. And another thing that's missing, there's no heel commentator like Bobby Heenan. That's another thing that's missing.
Yeah,
like wrestling really is missing two of that. They're missing another Iron Mike Tenay. They're missing someone like his knowledge.
Yeah.
It's horrible, but
and now that Tony's got a bag, like I said a few minutes ago, now that Tony's got a bag, he needs to clean up the production. He needs to clean up. He needs to clean up the lighting. He needs to clean up the sound. He needs to clean up a lot of things. Now that you've got the money, and you're not spending it out of your own pocket, add a little bit more, bring some pyro back. I mean, pyro is useful in the main event. Use it. You know, it's pyro is your main hype guy, and he doesn't use it at
Get
all.
rid of the LED barricades as well.
Yeah, I mean LED. They no those I kind of like that and around the ring. I kind of like that. I really do. I'm not going to lie because it's a visual for the kids. That's why I don't want to get rid of it. That's a visual for the kids. The kids, it ingrains it in their head, creates fans. I'm good with that.
Suppose.
But I mean, even do like a laser show. If lasers you can carry around with you, you only have to buy it one time, and you know it's not expendable like pyro. Do something visual.
Mm.
See, that's what everybody wants to know what's missing in these shows and this, that, and the other. The main thing that you're missing in the shows right now today. I mean, I watched this on New Japan last night. They had visuals when they needed them. Now, not everybody got lasers. Not everybody got the prompt entrance. Not everybody got pyro. But the people who needed to have it and the matches that needed to be hyped were hyped with visuals like that. Because otherwise, you got to hire somebody to do the hyping. Better than Alex the Hype Man.
You know what else they need to do as well? They need to turn the lights back on.
Yes.
Because there's some areas they deliberately turn off, and I think it's because they don't want to get clowned. Who cares? Who cares? Like, if you've got areas that may not be as filled as what you want, turn the lights on.
Yeah, show of hands of how many people that started as the CEO of a company. Show of hands. Show of hands to anybody, and every time somebody says some shit like that to me, show of hands of anybody that started as the CEO of a company. None of yous? Okay. So we're short 400 or 500 people.
Who cares?
Guess what? So was WWE. So was the NWA. So's TNA. That's going to happen.
So was WCW. So was New Japan.
So was New Japan. New Japan, that building last night had holes all in it.
But they had the lights on.
Around. Yeah, they had the lights on in San Jose. It had holes in the crowd. I saw them, but I didn't look at it and go, oh, they're in the mud. They didn't sell out. Haha. See, you can see that. Nobody cares.
Exactly. They just want the talent to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. And the fans enjoy it. Comment from Fletch. I can see Darby dethroning Moxley and Jay going to dethrone Darby since they got the story. The feet injury, Everest, etc. I don't think if I'll counter your point. If Darby's the one that beats Moxley, you've still got Christian Cage to cash in the championship opportunity. Realistically, Christian should still take the title, whether Copeland gets it or not, or Okada. If Jay ends up taking the title from Christian, however, the opportunity's on the wall for heel Hangman Page to become world champion.
Yeah.
The opportunity strikes. And if you do that, that presents Full Gear rematch, Hangman versus Omega as well. That's another thing that actually does present itself. With Hangman, personally, Hangman could go over, but he could then lose it the follow-up. There's a lot of interesting things this year that you can do with the World Championship scene if they do it. Will they? We'll certainly find out. But now we're nearly at the hour mark. Now we're finally going to start talking about Collision. So thanks, guys. Really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate that, and that's fun engagement. But like we say, there's one thing that I've always done when I'm on any podcast, when I'm hosting a show or I'm a guest, I always engage with the audience. I always engage with the live chat. I never miss a comment, even if it's 10, 15, 20 minutes back. I never miss a comment. I always go back. I do, however, disagree with this comment. I think I know you've got your issues with women in wrestling, Catherine, but there's some good female commentators. You just have to give them a chance. But I do get your point. Billy, they would need Abel, they would need to pay me big money to carry Billy. They would need to pay me big money, put it that way. I would need at least $300K a week.
I need more than that to do commentary for AEW.
Oh no, that's why I would say $300K a week. $300K a week, 52 weeks a year. Give me
Yeah,
the money.
I could probably go with that. That would probably work out. But yeah, I don't think they're going to pay anybody. I don't think they're going to pay us to do that.
I've heard plenty. In the first one, I can tell you straight away, Deonna Purrazzo, Madison Rain, Velvet Sky, and NWA.
Now, Velvet Sky, I understand why people wouldn't like her because they're still seeing the character. They see the character, they don't see the commentary.
Her commentary was good. Her commentary was quite good in NWA, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying that they see Velvet Sky with that ass shaking getting in the ring. They don't see Velvet Sky. It's kind of like Maria Kanellis. Little known fact: Maria Kanellis is a double PhD. She's not stupid. Yeah, she's not stupid by any stretch of the imagination. That playing stupid thing made her millions of dollars. Like playing stupid made her millions of dollars. She's like, hey, you want me to be an idiot? I'll be an idiot. Pay me. And they did. And they paid her well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things in there. Maria Kanellis is the one that jumps out at me because if they brought her in on commentary, her actual knowledge of the business, because she had the business knowledge when she was in WWE and it showed. I mean, y'all want to call me a ditzy? Y'all want to call me a ditzy bitch? I'll be a ditzy bitch. That's fine. I'll do that. I'll be the ditziest ditzy bitch you ever saw.
She started really well on. Obviously, they made her stupid at first when it comes to her interviews, but then they started to change up her interviews deliberately, and they went, "Can you just have a proper interview?"
Yeah.
With them, no, we're not going to do the stupid stuff anymore. We're going to give you a proper interview, and we're going to see what you do. I think the interview. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, which is very rare. I think the first serious interview she ever did, I think it was when Randy Orton had just won the WWE title for the first time.
Something
like when he'd actually won it. So obviously he was presented it on Raw. But I mean when he physically won it against Triple H at the very end of No Mercy after he'd went through the 3 matches and then Randy Orton won the last man standing to reclaim the title. I'm pretty sure the following night on Raw, I think Maria had an interview with him. And it was actually very, very good. She had great interviews with Shawn Michaels leading up to the Survivor Series. She had great interviews with Jericho when he returned. And it actually looked really good. Obviously, she was stuck with Santino Marella, who got ruined by them as well, which I'll never forgive because he can actually wrestle. Yeah. They never let him do it, but she's a very good interviewer and she's got smart business. I'm glad that when she went to Ring of Honor, she was able to present herself as the first lady of wrestling. Obviously, that was originally Miss Elizabeth, but you can tell that she did Elizabeth justice.
Yeah, she's super good. I like her. Lisa Marie Vachon works a mic really good, and she has her own podcast, jerking down 300,000-400,000 people a month. So I mean,
speaking of Vachon, I love Lisa Marie. But speaking of Vachon, Luna Vachon, obviously it was her anniversary of her birthday yesterday. So rest in peace to a heel legend, who one of the best heel performers of all time. Also, another thing, I don't know if you've seen this, but I'm hoping that Melina is safe. I don't know what her status is. She was apparently went missing in the LA fires.
Yeah.
I hope that she's not. I hope she's not dead. I hope she's not hurt, just like anyone else.
Yeah, but
no, I'm hoping she's
bad happen to anybody.
I'm hoping that she's all right. We are now finally going to get on with.
Yeah,
we're now going to get the Collision. So 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 15 seconds. Please do like the video, guys. Please do share this stream as well. Please do share this with your friends. Get your friends to come join us. Let's build and have some fun. So, Collision starts with Adam Copeland, or Rated R Cope, versus Big Bill. And this is by far. Now, I liked his match with Malachi in the cage, but I'm going to say this controversially. This is Copeland's best match so far, in my opinion, his entire AEW run.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was that, but it's up there. It's up there for me. And also, really well. Also, this is signaling, going into that, this is signaling, now they are, AEW is starting to do the indicating process. And I think that's part of why it's annoying, because they don't indicate the same way WWE indicates. When WWE indicates, it's
Will
something
come at
blunt.
us.
It's right there in your face. Whereas AEW is like that guy trying to indicate, but it turns into an illusion instead. I'm alluding to something instead of indicating. I'm alluding to it. And
Yes.
that way I can get out of what I alluded to in case it doesn't work. And I think that's probably the tension that you're feeling in a lot of these shows, is because they're attempting to do something, but it's coming off as something else. And it's just annoying. And great match. Big Bill actually
Yeah.
is a great worker, and I knew he was a great worker. He was the heart and soul of that whole Enzo Amore thing, because he was the anchor for that show. Enzo
Brilliant heel. Brilliant
was
heel.
Mike, and he was the Braun.
Yes.
Yeah, and he just does that role so well. And it's a shame, not a shame, because Tony's actually starting to use big guys properly now. Thank God. He's heard somebody and go, okay, Brian Cage, Kenny Omega, you can have it. Things like that. He's now. Do I think he's going to beat Kenny Omega? No, and I didn't think Big Bill was going to beat Copeland either.
Me
So,
either. He was going to give him it close.
but it got close. It got close enough. They teased it up. They worked it up to say, you know what? You guys are just one whisper in the referee's ear from him beating him. You know that, right?
Yeah.
All I got to do is whisper in the referee's ear. That's all I got to do.
I agree. So what was your thoughts then of Copeland winning by using a low blow as the babyface? Now, I liked what Jericho was saying on commentary, that you need to break him down. You need to break his body down. You got to go for the knees so he can barely move. Smart commentary, because that is the best way to defeat a giant. You've got to chop them down.
You got to chop down the redwood.
But Copeland shouldn't be winning with a low blow. He is the clear babyface.
I know, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. I mean, because I've not got an issue with it. I don't. It's smart. It's smart because it sets off the brawl. But was it essential? I'm not sure, but I did like the way they used the low blow.
Yeah,
I just don't know if they needed it. And that's what makes it so tricky you know what I mean? It makes it tricky to set the point. But it was clever.
The old man versus the big man, and the old man got a bag of tricks the big man probably hadn't seen, because the old man's got 15, 20 years on the big man. And the big man might be big, but I can still give you that Planned Parenthood and make your nuts fall out of your nose. And you still going to lose.
I wonder how Lexi felt after the show when she goes, right, do we need to give you a rub down? Nope, sorry, you're not getting kids tonight.
No, you're not getting you're not getting that. We already did the Planned Parenthood out there in the ring. That's what I call it when they kick them in the nuts like that when I'm live. I'm like, yep, there goes the Planned Parenthood, because I can't call it a nut shot every single time.
Big Bill probably went to Copeland. Look, like the missus is asking tonight, but I'm really not in the mood. It's too cold. It's snowy. Just give me a kick.
Just give me a kick. I don't feel like doing this. Just kick. But no, I mean, even backstage. Here's the funny part. Now I've got 1 minute here, and then I'll let it go. But when we were at WrestleCade, I was backstage with some of the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And one of them came back out there. It's like, have you ever seen ODB work? I'm like, yeah, I watched her work on TNA every damn week.
What an amazing women's wrestler.
Yeah, he's like, she gives the stiffest ball shot I've ever seen. I still can't walk.
Cody Deaner sold that like he'd been shot.
God, you should have seen my guy Evil Nate. Evil Nate sold it like his balls were going to fall out of his nose. But he said she goofed and actually kicked him in the nuts. So it was easy to sell.
There's actually, I think it was Eric Young, but there's actually a ball shot that he took from ODB. And she didn't kick him with the foot, by the way. She got him with the shin.
Yeah.
And he was tugged in. Like, he was like full on tugged. And I'm like, I don't think she got a little bit. I think she got all of it.
I think she got every bit. That's kind of how I felt with this one, though. See, when you do those things, everybody talks about how they no-sell things and no-sell things and no-sell things. I think the nut shot was just so you knew there's no way he can't no-sell it.
Yeah. And it was good that I like that they teased the potential that he has got the potential to win the match. I do agree with the comment. The guy, by the way, nice to see about Chris Jericho was underwhelming. Yeah, he was awful.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're mic skills. That's it. Go ahead.
I've got a very appropriate way to sum up Chris Jericho when we get to his match. So for you nostalgia folks, you're gonna like what I'm about to say about Jericho when we get to his match. Appraisal for the match as well is there was the tease potentially that Big Bill could get the win. Unfortunately, of course, the kick out obviously got a huge pop when he kicked out the first spear. We got a massive pop for Big Bill. Obviously, that's a pop in shock, but a very good effective one for him. It gets the crowd right into it. We then get the brawl at the end of the match. Very good. We continue it. We then move on. I'm right in saying the next match as well, then because we do get the promo segment that follows with Hangman. The Hangman segment is spot on.
The Hangman segment was good. I liked it.
Beautiful segment. But were you? I do say I'm quite a fan of continuity, and I like the way that shows flow. But after Hangman's very strong promo, which was one of the best he's ever done, were you happy that they did back-to-back the Death Rider singles match with Pac and Commander and then straight into Wheeler Yuta and Claudio versus the Outrunners?
I think they were trying to get as much shit out of the way as they could. The matches that they had actually planned, I think they were trying to get that in early because Tony knew that everything coming after that. And don't get me wrong, the Harley Cameron match actually was one of my moments for the night. But in all seriousness, I really think Tony was doing the Booker version of getting all your shit in before you had to put some crust in there that was just going to be nasty. And it is what it is there. Like I said, I give Tony a mulligan on weather things because he still hasn't figured out the whole point of it doesn't matter if the talent bitches and moans. It's supposed to snow.
Trevor,
I'll pay for a hotel. I'll pay for a hotel for everybody. That way you're protected. It won't be the Taj Mahal, but the Quality Inn has nice rooms too, and I can book the whole hotel for a couple of G's. So I'll just book the whole hotel. That way you're protected from everybody. I'll have the security around, and you guys get there early. That way we can put on the show we intend on putting on to keep the continuity going. They just didn't do it.
Massively. Fletcher's saying they teased Brian Cage and Lance to win tag gold. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They absolutely have. They absolutely have. Yeah. I'm going to say in a limb now, Fletch, you did ask who dethrones Private Party. For me, the team that should dethrone them is the team that's been booked to face them next week at Maximum Carnage. Private Party need to lose to, even though it's a trios match next week, they should immediately. They need to go straight into Private Party versus the Hurt Syndicate for the tag titles.
And that needs to flip right there on the screen right away at a random, what we call a random house show. It needs to flip right then, right there. And the Hurt Syndicate can put some respect on those titles. Because right now, I'm not seeing it. They got bitched out last week. They got bitched out the week before that. They're going to get bitched out again. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Their levels declined. Yeah, we said that they were the weakest promo on Dynamite. They were standing there shocked after MVP shut them down in 40 seconds.
I mean,
and Lashley as well.
It was bad. And Lashley wasn't even that good on the mic. You got beat out by
beat out by a B-Tech Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, you got beat out by somebody who has high squeals in his voice. Yeah. I mean, he squeals when he talks. And he talks quietly. And, then he has that real high pitch like he stumped his toe when he hit the bed or something like that.
Yeah.
You got beat out by that. Okay?
Exactly. No, you're not wrong. Big question by Fletch. He says, when Cole sadly got injured, he was about to have a heel run, right? We even thought Christian could join him in that feud with House of Black. I don't think he was going to be heel. I think House of Black still would have been, but I don't think Christian would have been part of that. I think he was still doing his thing, and Christian's probably one of the most consistent workers they've got. They really need to lean into him for producing or his creative mind, because Jesus Christ, his mind dwarfs pretty much 90% of that roster. His brain is incredible. Pac versus Commander, however, one by one. Pac versus Commander, this match actually did stand out really well. Pac obviously does win by the brutalizer. He doesn't let go. Some key comments, obviously, from Tony Schiavone, obviously. He says that Pac's now won 17 of his last 10 matches, which is true. He's a perfect 10-0 on Collision. He's never lost.
Yep.
And there's one comment he really liked that Nigel said that I really liked, and he says he really stuck that DDT, but Commander has to keep pushing forward. Yeah, well, he did, and then look what happened to him. He got stuck in the brutalizer. We get the Death Riders immediately come out. We don't really let the Pac get a chance to breathe to even attack Commander on his own. We get the Death Riders straight away, but the Outrunners come out straight into the tag match. The tag match wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't bad. There's chaos, and then there's controlled chaos.
Massively.
And now, I'm not going to say that I'm hating on the chaos, because I like the chaos. I just need it to be a little bit more focused and controlled, because you can do that. You have the book. You have the pencil. You have the pencil. You can control the flow of that chaos. Now, if you're going to book chaos, that's an art form. And losing, and this is a controversial take, but I stand on this too. Losing Arn Anderson, if he had Arn Anderson with him right now, this would be controlled chaos, and you'd be sucked in. Arn Anderson was a master of controlled chaos. He handled a lot of the bits in WCW.
Tully as well. Tully
as well, but Tully not so much. Arn Anderson was the cerebral guy. He was the guy that thought at 18, 20 moves ahead, 5-6 promos ahead. He could actually put together a thing, and Ric Flair says this openly in the biographies. Arn Anderson was their wing guy. He was their wing guy on the whole thing. He was their wing guy on promos. He was their wing guy on match flow. He was their wing guy on moveset. He was their wing guy on progression. And if it didn't make sense, he would tell, Eric Bischoff, it doesn't make sense, we're not doing it. If Tony had him right now, this entire sequence would have made sense.
Well, annoyingly as well as he had him, and then he fucked it.
Yeah,
no idea. I don't know how all that happened. It's just weird.
Yeah,
it's just unfortunate.
I mean, it takes two to tango. I don't think Tony fucked him so much as he fucked himself, because he's still old school. When I ran into him in WrestleCade, he's still that old school Arn Anderson that I remember hanging out in the gym back in the 90s when I was at Ric Flair's Gold Gym. He's still the same guy.
He'll never change.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing of it. I don't think Tony fucked him so much as he fucked himself, because it's not 1989, and you can't do 1989 things anymore like you used to be able to do. That's the whole thing of the world doesn't accept that anymore.
True.
They just don't. They don't accept it in wrestling. Hulk Hogan got booed out of the building. They don't accept any of that stuff. So I mean, that's that. But go ahead. I mean, the match flow, once again, if you're going to do chaos, do it in a controlled environment, because they could have controlled that whole thing, and they could have made it flow, give it a little bit of breathing time. You don't want a lot of breathing time. You don't want a lot of time to think about this, because it needs to go Donnybrook right over here.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's the whole thing. But go ahead. That was the part of it.
It's a poor man's Matrix. Fletcher saying, I can see Ospreay and Omega versus Takeshita and Fletcher at AEW Revolution, and that would cook hard. Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I think the only reality of that is, I feel like this seems like a bit of a waste for me. And it's not because I don't think it's a bad idea. I do think it's a good idea. I think it just seems like a waste of their time. I don't think, in all shapes and forms, I don't think Ospreay and Omega should be teaming on pay-per-view. I think teaming them on the main event at Dynamite is fine. I'm just not sure if this should go into a pay-per-view. I think as well this would center in what people have been saying about Kenny Omega, because he's had a long time wasted because of diverticulitis. I think this kind of ties in. Like, this would be a bad way to produce his year where he wants to prove he's still the best. I'm not sure. I would get that fight, but I think he would resent this. Even though it's talent that he would like to work with, and he does like each of them individually, I would get the vibe that maybe he would resent it because it's not what he wants.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
I'm trying to find a way to devil's advocate it where it would work, but it absolutely would be a good match. I don't dispute that. I just think it would seem like a waste of their time and their talent. I'm not sure. I just can't see it. Like, I am trying to be devil's advocate for it, because I know I would like that match. I just don't know. I feel like it would not be what we need right now.
Yeah, and now that you've got Omega back, Omega's not going to be the savior of AEW. No. It shouldn't be. He's not going to be. And diverticulitis, once you get a foot of intestine cut out of you, I can tell you right now, you're not the same person. You never will be. And you're not going to be the same athlete. You're not going to be the same physical specimen. However, I think he exceeded my expectations enough in Japan that I think he's at least 80% of what he used to be.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's
same as Lesnar.
Yeah.
Same as Lesnar.
Yeah, they keep telling me there's Japan Omega and America Omega. He looked pretty much the same to me in presentation coming in the other night that he did in Japan. So I'm waiting to see him work a match because I want to see what everybody's talking about. Yeah. I looked at some of the old AEW stuff here. He didn't look like much different than what I saw in Japan. You know,
I think it's just Japan. I think it's just because Japan present him like he is that blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
I think the AEW did do it sometimes. They didn't do it a lot. They could have done it more. I personally think they could have presented Omega a little bit more, because every time he was on a big show for New Japan, he was presented like Nakamura was when Nakamura became the Chaos King. Like, for me, Nakamura was the benchmark for presentation, or Tanahashi. They were the... If you want to be presented strongly, you've got to be on the level of Nakamura and Tanahashi. If you're not at that level of presentation, then you're going nowhere. And I think he certainly was, because him and Okada really were next level shit for presentation, and it was glorious.
Right.
No, he didn't, but he still had a lot taken out of him, where Brock, it could have done more. Like, Brock was in the same situation as Kenny Omega. If Brock hadn't got his surgery, Brock Lesnar would have died. Same as Kenny. They would have died. Like, there was no way around it.
Yeah, this ain't exactly a ghost disease, and it's not it's not something people make up. I have diverticulitis. It sucks. I'm serious. I have diverticulitis, and when it kicks up, it sucks.
Yeah.
I'm in bed for 4 or 5 days. No shit. I mean, literally, it's a bad deal. It's not what you think it is, and it's really weird because you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning feeling like somebody just stuck a hot knife in your side.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it feels, and it stays that way, and no amount of medication, and then you have to take antibiotics, and then you have to take probiotics, because the antibiotics they give you other issues, so then you have to take probiotics to get yourself right again. And that's just in one episode. If you have that more than once in a year, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm surprised when he said he had diverticulitis. I'm like, no way, this got to be a work, because you can't do what he does and have diverticulitis.
You absolutely can't. You absolutely can't, and that's a strong sense of what they've got. And when you look at it as well, the difference of what they were doing, like Brock Lesnar was the UFC World Champion when he had diverticulitis, and he's taken vicious, lethal punches, kicks, knees to the stomach area, the ribs, and you're like, fuck, if this has went wrong,
if anything went wrong, he'd die right there in the ring. He'd be dead.
So fuck that never happened. But it's just strong elements of what they go through for people's entertainment, and they still get so much shit for that they don't need.
But
Powerhouse,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Powerhouse Hobbs. What did you make of his backstage promo? For me, it was it more or less like I was thinking that it didn't really tease what he was going to do in the main event because nobody really expected it anyway. But it didn't really tell him. It didn't really sell him enough for the world title match. He's got Maximum Carnage, but it at least showed that he is at least serious. It seemed too sentimental of a promo,
and it needed to be. And that now this is where we disagree on this. I think it's one of the best promos he's ever done. I think
I don't think it's a bad promo at all.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as what he brought to the table there was a sense of urgency. There was a sense of, I know I'm the new guy. There was a sense of, I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but I'm going to be there and be in it anyway.
Yes.
And I mean, it was giving enough reverence to Mox because let's be real here. If this were not AEW and this were not a wrestling match, and you saw Powerhouse Hobbs walk up to John Moxley in an enraged engagement manner and you thought they were going to fight, and this was not wrestling. This is just you're sitting in a bar and you see these two guys going like, the first thing I would think to myself is, that guy right there is about to realize he fucked up. And I'm not talking about Powerhouse Hobbs. I'm talking about Moxley. When I look at them, when I look at the two of them, I mean, you just look at it and it's like, if he raises his hand, that's going to be the last thing he does on God's green earth right here. So they needed that promo. They needed that promo to humanize what was going on, because you still have to be able to suspend disbelief.
You do.
To watch wrestling. And the only way you can suspend disbelief in this fight, looking at Powerhouse Hobbs, looking at Moxley, is for Powerhouse Hobbs to downplay himself. And part of that he did, part of it he talked about, but he still gave you that idea that, and you know what, guys, there's a good possibility here I could lose this match, but at least I got to do it.
Yeah.
You know. So he's selling you into being able to suspend disbelief when he does lose. I don't think he's going to beat Moxley. I don't see it.
No, right. I think he will. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like for like the same as when he wrestled when Moxley was IWGP champion. It's going to be the exact same, the way it was.
And I swear on all things holy, Tony Khan, if you put him over. Because every time I've said this, it's just like the opposite has happened. Even though it's just the most unbelievable redneck shit you could ever think of, then it turns around and happens. You're like, Tony Khan, you son of a bitch. You know? Like half of the matches I've seen over the last 3 weeks, I've been sitting here going, Tony Khan, you son of a bitch. Why?
Yeah.
You know, it's not criticism. That's not hate. That's actually me going, damn, I didn't think you had it in you. You know, kind of like Denzel Washington in Training Day. Oh, I didn't think you had it in you. You know,
I think it's a big ask. However, if Powerhouse Hobbs were to shock and actually win it, because then if he was to win it, then the questions are going to be asked. You're willing to put the title on Powerhouse Hobbs. Not that it's a bad thing. I like Powerhouse Hobbs, but if you put the title on him, then people are going to ask the question. So why didn't you put the title on Jay White? You know what I mean? Like it'll really, you know what I mean? Like it would really raise a lot of alarm bells.
I think,
and it's hard to justify.
I really solidly think, and I really solidly believe that Jay White gets his flowers in Australia. Now, I don't know what flowers they're going to be yet.
Hopefully, black roses.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but no, I think Jay White. I hope. I say I think and I hope, because the only way this Australia show goes off right is if they highlight the Australian talent. WWE made a serious serious miscalculation in Australia. Because the only person that went over in Australia was Rhea Ripley. They made a serious miscalculation in Scotland because Drew McIntyre doesn't even go over in his own home country, and you got Alba Fire, which is cute and they're cool and all that. Nobody fucking heard of them. They get a world title, and Drew McIntyre, the guy you've been pushing, the guy who made the guy sitting up in the nosebleed seats drop $1,200 for his family of 4 to see Drew McIntyre win, and he loses. And you give them Alba Fire and whatever the hell that other girl's name is. I don't even care.
Isla Dawn, yeah.
You give them world tag team titles, and I would venture a guess that
Piper as well.
Less than 50% of the people in the stadium even knew who the hell they were.
Piper Niven as well.
Piper Niven, that's another one you just play over. As long as Tony isn't tone deaf in Australia,
oh God,
everything will work out internationally from there. I think if he puts this show correctly, and Tony, if you do listen, this is one you need to put down on a pen and paper. You need Australian talent. You need New Zealand talent. You need locals going over the international people, because in that case, Will Ospreay's international. In that case, Jon Moxley's a foreigner.
Yeah.
You need your local talent to go over the foreigners, because if you do not do that, the rest of your international tour is dead. Nobody will pay good money to see their local hometown hero lose to the American. That's not even what they want to see.
It will cause a riot. It will cause a riot.
Eventually, it's going to. I'm surprised that they got out of Scotland without somebody being killed. I really am. I'm dead serious about that.
I was there. There was heavy booing after Clash went off the air.
Yeah,
There was heavy booing.
And there should be, because it was garbage. And I don't want to see Tony Khan fall into that trap. So I think what he's doing is he's sanitizing the product here. I'm hoping this is what he's doing. I'm hoping he's sanitizing the product here so he can unleash it in Australia. So you get the Jay White win. So you get the Tony Storm. You get that. You get, what's his name? Brophy.
Buddy Matthews, yeah.
You get a Buddy Matthews win. Maybe Buddy Matthews wins the Continental title. Maybe he takes it off Okada. Maybe you get bold and you put Buddy Matthews and Okada in the same room, and Buddy Matthews captures that Continental title that nobody's been able to do. They would, if they went back to Australia, they would need a football stadium.
It would be mental. It would be, in that way, it would be. Fletcher saying, like, ironically, that is coming up very shortly because it does get announced. But why is MVP wrestling next week? I thought he was just a manager.
He's a certified badass, that's why.
I'll be surprised if it is MVP that's actually in the ring and not somebody they personally recruit.
No, he'll be in that. He's in the match. They've got him billed to be in the match. No, MVP is a certified badass. I thought the same thing you did until I saw him work Josh Barnett in Bloodsport. That shit was crazy.
It was great stuff.
He's my age.
I enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. It was great.
Yeah, he's my age and he worked Josh Barnett like that. I'm gonna think. I think you're gonna figure out when you see him put together out there that MVP can still go and he can go at a high level. So
he can still go. I'm just not sure if maybe they need it. It might be a spoiler for maybe they do have someone lined up, like at the end of the match. I think they may have someone.
Yeah, the only other way they can make that work is if they actually get Ricochet in. If they bring Ricochet into the Hurt Syndicate, if cutting Swerve Strickland up was what he needed to do to get in, and they bring him in like that, and then you get Samantha on top of all of that. She's been backstage for the last 2 or 3 shows. She's coming.
She's not.
That's not a joke.
I don't think she is at all. No. I don't think she's ever going to return to pro wrestling. Not in capacity. I think
she's going to. She said she wants to be a manager. Seriously.
So did JoJo, but she's not going to get the gig. I don't think.
JoJo I personally get it. No, JoJo.
I personally don't see it. I don't see it happening at all. I don't think Samantha Irvin is going to be back in wrestling at all.
Oh, okay. We'll revisit that one. We'll
If
revisit.
I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just think she won't, because she said it as well on her own Twitter account as well, that she doesn't want to come back to wrestling.
No, I'm just saying, you got her back there. You put her out there. That's it. That would be nuclear. Tell me it wouldn't be nuclear.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be. It's just, it's not something she's ever done, and she doesn't give me the vibe of someone who'd be a good manager. She would only be a good announcer. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think she's ever coming back though. I think she'll just be there to support, but I don't think she'll physically be there. And it wouldn't do her much favor anyway. I think she's already sick and tired of the wrestling fan bases for the shit she gets anyway. If she's smart, stay out of it.
No, if she's smart, get right in the middle of it. You might as well get paid to deal with trolls.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. If I got to deal with trolls, I might as well get paid to do it. That's just my thoughts on that. But anyway,
well, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
You know, I think that's the way everybody's looking at it. But yeah, I think if Ricochet comes into the Hurt Syndicate, you will see her out there. You will see her on camera, because that would be the most evil sell. I agree with Starks on that when he said that. You know, he's like, look, you know, you need to sit Samantha down and say, look, beloved, they hating on me right now. And you don't even got to say much. Just get in the ring with me for a few weeks. They'll really be hating on us after that. And the thing about it is, the part that wrestling fans don't get, and I say this all the time to people who think they got over on a wrestling star, on a wrestler. You see that little blue check mark up there? You can get over on them. They're getting paid because all they're doing is making you do their engagement work for them. So I would say, if I were a professional wrestler and somebody was fucking with me on my Twitter, on my X space, I'd be like, yeah, I'm all that. What else do you think? I'd just keep dragging that stuff out, because $25, that shit adds up after a while.
No, it's true. No, that's true. I don't disagree in the slightest. I think that's absolutely spot on. It's just eager to see what happens, but I'm not sure. I'm eager to find out though. I'm just not sure. It would be fun though. It would be fun.
But anyway, we had some more stuff going on there, so go ahead.
Yeah, we did. We did have the women's match next. Mariah May versus Harley Cameron. This was okay. It wasn't great.
Go ahead.
I mean, the problem that these two had, though, is you really see the lack of experience from Harley Cameron, because the champion isn't actually leading the match well. But I don't think Mariah May leads this match quite well, and it's because of that you see a little bit of a misstep from Harley Cameron. Not all the time. She doesn't misstep a lot.
No.
But Mariah May isn't leading this match quite well, and it kind of derails Harley a little bit. But they did get some good spots in here. They did get some good work to the camera. They did get the fans reacting really well. Doesn't make it a bad match in any way. It's just that, unfortunately, because of Mariah works really well, but she doesn't. She's not a ring general yet. So her leading matches, it doesn't seem natural, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. And we had a double exposure there, and there was double exposure. Harley Cameron had 2 botches in there, but I think they were overcomable. I think she could overcome those. Those just come from not getting repetition. When she gets reps in the ring, that shit'll go away. She's solid fundamental. And she's fundamentally solid, and she has the ability to lead a match. I watched her in Ring of Honor here, working Trish Adora on Thursday.
Yeah.
And she actually led that match, most of the match. She let Trish Adora walk into the finish.
She did, and it was really good.
And that was a phenomenal match, because Harley knows how to work around people even in the ineptitudes of things, there's certain things she just can't do yet. And part of that has to do with having the large memories. There are certain things you can't do, like efficiently when you got those big things out in front of you. Okay, without being crude or anything like that. That's just a natural anatomical fact. If you got two big balloons in front of you, it makes it harder to work. But other than that, what it exposed as well is exactly what you just said, that they put the title on somebody who can't lead a match. She's never led a match. She's always been the worker. And everybody that's come in to fight her, Thunder Rosa was a real stark example of this. Thunder Rosa led the match and she followed. That's not how it's supposed to work. Your world champion is supposed to be able to command the ring at all times, because at the end of the day, they paid to see that belt on you. They didn't pay to see the belt on the person you're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we had a double exposure right there. Harley's got to work around. She's got to figure the workaround for her anatomical state, because there is workarounds. I saw Chyna in her later years when she got her augmentation. When she got her augmentation, she learned to work around the augmentation, And I'm really trying to be professional about it and all the whole 9 yards. But
I think Harley went a bit too far with it.
I don't think she's augmented. Not totally.
Oh,
augmented.
I do. No, but I don't care if they are or if they're not. But I think she is.
But I'm just saying, when she figures out how to work around those, when she figures out how to tailor her moveset around her anatomical features, she already knows how to lead a match. She already knows how to talk people into the building.
Yes.
That's not even a question. She could talk the Pope into the building. I think she could talk the Ayatollah into the building. I'm serious.
She probably could.
Yeah, okay, so she knows how to talk people into the building. She knows how to lead the matches. She just has to learn how to work around those anatomical anomalies that she's got, and she'll be perfectly fine. Mariah May, on the other hand, will always be a worker. And I think that this is exposed. I hope it has exposed that. And maybe we see that title drop on, say, Chris Statlander or Willow, who can actually lead matches and work around her own anatomical issues. Chris Statlander works well because she doesn't have those anatomical issues. Willow has learned how to work around everything that she's got. She does it fluidly, smoothly. For a plus size talent, she is freaking awesome. She's 150,000 times better than Nia Jax, and I don't give a damn what bloodline stands think about that.
David would agree with that.
Yeah, but she is absolutely 100. She's 1,000 times better than Nia Jax. It's just one of those things that once she figures out how to work around what she's got, she's going to be unstoppable. But Mariah May, you can't teach leadership. You either have it or you don't.
Agreed.
That's why people emerge the way they emerge. That's why Stone Cold was a natural leader. You couldn't teach that.
No, you couldn't. You're absolutely spot on with that. That's a major thing. Is if you can teach it to some, but there's some who have it naturally that's much better than when you're taught it, and you do get that. I don't care about the discourse between Taker and Sting. I see a lot of that that's popped up the past couple of years, where it's who's the better leader in the ring. Both of them are actually very good at leading the ring. Both of them are actually very good at adapting to the opposition. So I don't agree with the discourse of who's better than the other. It's actually, here's a news flash to all the idiots in the IWC that actually are idiots. They're actually even.
Yeah, they're dead set even. I would not, and I think that's why that match never happened. That's the reason why Sting and Undertaker never happened, because they're both. If you put blinders on, if you had the ability to put blinders on and watch wrestling with blinders where you couldn't see who was wrestling,
it's like
you couldn't tell the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, ironically, it's the same. We only got it on pay-per-view twice, but it's carbon copy of each other, Bret Hart and Kurt Hennig.
Yeah, same difference. And They were just like each other, and that's why they didn't work them together, because then you would have to choose which one is better than the other.
Yeah, I agree with this comment, however, from Boxing Dream, though, and this goes across the entire wrestling landscape. There's a lack of natural leaders in wrestling right now. I absolutely agree with that. I agree. I think there's a very strong lack of natural leaders, and I think it's because nobody wants to be in such a position anymore. I don't think anybody really wants to be in that position, because they know right now, if you're in such a position, you make one mistake and you're held on that ridiculously bad by people that are watching. They don't even understand the profession. They're just a fan that doesn't get it. They are striking them wildly, and it's ridiculous. When right now, somebody should just go, you know what? Fuck the online fan base. Fuck the streaming fan base. I'm going to be the next leader of whoever, what promotion is, or I'm just going to be the next leader of the business. And you know what? To hell with them. Somebody needs to do that. Somebody needs to go, fuck the lot of you.
And see, that's just it. The reason wrestling, and I blame the internet for this. I blame the internet wholeheartedly for it, because back when wrestling was really hot, the only people you had to deal with were pencil neck geeks, as Bobby Heenan used to say. He was talking about reporters and dirt sheets. When he said pencil neck geeks,
Meltzer and all that.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you had to deal with. You didn't have to deal with constant tweets, messages, Facebook, YouTube. Some dimwit sitting on YouTube here with 1,000 likes on his video saying you suck.
Exactly. You know, exactly like this Boxing Dream. Someone needs to grow up, take responsibility. And I would like someone to just go. I would like somebody just to come in and just steal the manner and just run with it. There will never be another. Annoyingly, there'll never be another Hulk Hogan. I hate the man with all my fiber, but he actually was a leader of the business. I at times can't stand Ric Flair, but Ric Flair was the opposition from the NWA. He was their leader, but WCW had it. They had their own. WWE in the late 90s had Steve Austin, they had The Rock, all of that. They had Undertaker as like the reliable leader, but there's nothing there. And then straight in, he was the last proper leader. And WCW had Sting. Yeah, there's nobody now. TNA's leader came in much years later, but TNA's leader was Kurt Angle.
Yep.
And then AJ Styles evolved into that through Kurt Angle. And there's no one now. There's no one else now.
And as much as I hate him, I do not endorse him. He is a piece of shit human being. As far as I am concerned, and hopefully he rots in hell, and I stand on that.
Yes.
Vince McMahon booked what he wanted to book, and to hell with what you thought.
He didn't care.
He didn't care. He didn't give a shit. Yeah. Hey Vince, I got this. I don't care. Hey Vince, I got this $1 million. I don't care. Hey Vince, they're talking about. I don't give a shit. I'm booking this. I'm not going to stay awake at night wondering what Tommy Two-Tone in fucking Biloxi, Mississippi thinks about what I booked. Fuck him.
Exactly.
This is what's going down on paper. This is what we're going to work. And if the fans don't like it, we'll get around to something they will like. It's radio. Vince grew up in the radio era. By the way, guys, I did too. All those times you called the radio station going, play this, play my song, play my song. If it was in the rotation, they'd be glad to pay. They'd be glad to play it. But if you think they're going to get up out of a chair, go find a CD, pull a CD out, load your song in there, you think the stripper actually wants to go home with you.
Bingo. And that's the reality. And this is a great comment. Chris Jericho could have been AEW's big leader, but he sets poor example nowadays with laziness and lack of motivation. Chris Jericho was the leader when he first came into AEW.
Yeah.
When you look at it, he was. The minute he lost the world title, he completely changed. When Chris Jericho was AEW World Champion, Chris Jericho looked and acted like a champion. He looked and acted like somebody you can build the organization around until you get to who you want to be. And then he started doing more of the bollocks that nobody wants. I said it last week's show. There's 4 versions of Jericho that I will always like. WCW Jericho, Chris Jericho when he started acting like Nick Bockwinkel when he was wearing the suits when he won the world title in 2008 and 2009. Jericho when he went to New Japan. New Japan Jericho when he went to become the Painmaker and all that. It was very clever, and his matches with Naito and Omega was unreal. and then when he was the very first version of himself in AEW, when he was Le Champion with the Inner Circle. Everything after that, bollocks, and it's been worthless. The only thing he's done since that's been good since then was the 7 Sins of Jericho. But he's done nothing else good after that. He's went way too far. Way too far.
I will jump in here. He did have one redeeming moment. Mm-hmm. That slow speed chase on the contract signing with Ishii and throwing trash. That was a redeeming moment. It was comical. It told a story. Other than that, the rest of everything he's done has been bullshit.
Yeah.
Horrible. It's horrible. But he's the only person who is consistently. I mean, even if he's bad, he's consistently bad. You know what you're gonna get out of him every week.
Oh yeah.
That's part of why he gets booked so much, because the relative inconsistencies right now in a 5-year-old show, that does kind of bother me a little bit. I will say that I'm not one of these people that thinks in 5 years you ought to have 100,000 people and Freddie Mercury singing "We Will Rock You" in the background. I don't think that happens. But consistency is something everyone can have in a wrestling show, because that's how you build that arena with 50,000 people and him singing, "We Will Rock You" in the background. That's how that happens.
Jericho. Weird thing about Jericho, and this is annoying. John put a comment there saying watching Chris Jericho in his prime in the 90s and 2000 was a treat.
Yes.
When he went to New Japan for the second time in like 2018, 2019 onwards, the weird thing about Chris Jericho is he became the Painmaker, but he was just a more vicious version of him as a rock star. He was vicious in that way, and it looked great. But ever since he totally toned himself down, he lost it. Yeah, I thought, John, 100%. I thought his run in New Japan was great. Like,
it was good. It was good.
And I think you see, like, there's a match he does with Okada as well for the world title, and there's so much jeopardy from Don Callis on commentary for Jericho that he could potentially beat him as well. It was great. Like, I actually really liked that run. It was probably his best run, I would say, since 2016, because he went through 2-3 years where he looked out of sorts, and then after that, obviously, AEW is now folded away since he lost the world title. But that's Jericho. We're going to be coming to his main event soon. We've got a few things to do first. First of all, Christopher Daniels, good promo.
Yes.
Good promo. Selling fear that Hangman's going to rip him apart in the Texas Death Match next Saturday. That's a veteran. That's great. Thank you, Christopher Daniels. Great follow-up to the segment from Dynamite as well. I'm liking that. Keep that going. We need more of that. Thank you.
Probably going to be the match of the week, too. It's the way they're building this thing now. If the action matches half of the promo, that's going to be a hellacious match of the week right there.
Absolutely. We then get the House of Black's Brody King with Julia Hart versus Trevor Blackwell. He's the enhancement talent. Plain and simple, Trevor Blackwell got bitched, but Brody King is just a great guy. Brody King is a great worker. He deserves to get a heavy push this year. Whatever that will be. He then had a very good segment backstage with Copeland. Sorry, Cope, because he likes his 4-letter names.
I ain't doing that Cope shit. I ain't doing
that. That was a good promo. Yeah. That was a good segment between those two as well. And I think he really got to Julia Hart as well. I like that when he said you need to take the reins. I quite like that. I wonder what they'll do with him, but there's an opportunity here. Like I said, keep those three together, but make it fun. I want to see what happens. And just to echo on James's comment, Christopher Daniels is absolutely underrated. Christopher Daniels is one of the best pro wrestlers I've ever seen.
Yeah, Christopher Daniels. A lot of these little guys, they have to work 10 times hard to be thought half as good. Same thing.
He made it look so easy.
All of them. Yeah.
I seen a quote tweet earlier on from another podcaster, and to be fair, it made me laugh because this is what Christopher Daniels had to do in TNA for some of his mad moments. But there's actually a quote tweet when he put his promo up, and somebody said, "Rest in peace, Curry Man," because obviously he was Curry. because he was Curryman in TNA. But I started laughing. I immediately went and started watching some old Curryman matches just because of that.
Absolutely.
But because I missed the Curryman gimmick. I mean, he was the first Suicide. He was the first man to do the Suicide gimmick when they brought him from the video game.
I miss Shark Boy a lot. I really do. I miss Shark Boy.
He was there last year. Shark Boy.
I know, and I missed that whole run too. Give me a shell, yeah. Give me a shell, yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm there with that. Give me a shell, yeah.
It was good fun.
I'm there with that. It's hilarious. It makes you anything that makes me forget how shitty my day was at work. I like it. That's what wrestling is here for.
I think you're missing the trick a little bit. The guy, I get what you're saying, but I think they're not. I don't think they have dropped the ball. If you go back to what I said, I think they've actually got it right with Hangman. Hangman's now taking out all his bent up frustration for not winning the world title in that fatal 4-way. He's taking it out on all the people he actually respects. Christopher Daniels is someone he respects going back to Ring of Honor. I think he's absolutely going down that route where everyone now is the enemy. And you'll see that. I think he will get a world title run as a heel this year. If not next year, starting next year, he will be world champion.
Yes.
I don't think they've dropped the ball with Hangman. I think they've completely bought into him and they've completely worked him the right way.
Yeah, don't be confused about Hangman. They're just letting that burning house and that syringe spot breathe a little bit. Yeah. I mean, burning house, syringe. No, they haven't dropped the ball with Hangman. They are developing him into a maniacal Dexter. He's going to wind up being Dexter when this is all said and done.
He's Lucifer without the vampire.
Yeah.
If you look at it, he is Lucifer without the vampire. It's really strong. This is a great question from Boxing Dream. He does have a follow-up comment after, so I'll bring it straight back up. But he says, sorry for going off topic here, but fun question. Who is the most obscure name you can think of? Who was a missed opportunity from a major promotion, if that makes sense? So I think if we're tying into one, like someone who could have been a big deal and a future star if they were handled correctly, I'm going to say one name. It goes back to before I was born, but it's because of his own fault. I'm going to say Magnum TA.
No, he wasn't a missed opportunity. He wrecked a motorcycle. The missed opportunity in my book was the Brian Kendrick.
He was his own fucking fault.
Yeah, his was his own fault. I mean, I don't think it was a missed opportunity, and it was his own fault because he wasn't a mature individual going into handling what happened as a result of himself. He was very immature. I will say he was very immature, but you could teach maturity.
Yeah,
you couldn't teach what he had.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna scrap. I'll scrap Magnum TA because, to be fair, his US title scene was very good. I've got another two names. I want to get your thoughts on them. The first one, Billy Kidman. I love Billy Kidman, but when they started deliberately taking the mick of his shooting star press, I was very gutted by that because his shooting star press rivaled Jushin's when he done it.
Yeah,
nobody else comes close. And the other one for me, because they didn't know what they had until they lost it, and I don't know why he never won a world championship. I'm going to say Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, but when he was in the very first years of his WWE run, like his first few years.
Yeah. See,
I think he's another one.
He wasn't.
I was close to saying Shawn Waltman. I was close to saying Shawn Waltman, but I wasn't sure if that just seems obvious because Raven's another one in different promotions.
Billy Kidman, kind of like the Brian Kendrick. He was Tiger before Tiger was Tiger. Okay.
He was, yeah.
He was Tiger Woods. No, he was Tiger Woods before Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods. Billy Kidman had the same problem. If he's honest, he'll tell you that. Billy Kidman had the same problem Tiger Woods had. He was Tiger Woods before Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods. Scott Hall never was a missed opportunity because Scott Hall was always a head case, and that goes back to his AWA days.
That's true.
Before they got him,
Tyler Breeze. Great shout, Tyler Breeze.
And Tyler Breeze is a good shout out. Scott Hall probably could have been better. I don't know what his mental issue was. And
Nor
I
do
mean,
I.
even you watch these videos, the gunshot, the murder was not the problem. That's the thing they
No.
link it to. But
Yeah.
Scott Hall, even in his AWA days, and when Vince McMahon packed AWA up and got Terry Bollea, who you know is Hulk Hogan, and they got Scott Hall in that deal. They got a piece of Bruiser, but not the whole piece. They picked up a lot of talent out of AWA.
Kurt Hennig as well.
Kurt Hennig, yeah.
Ted DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase was in AWA. But when they brought in Scott Hall, they realized what they had. The problem is Scott Hall was a drunk then. You know, he was a drunk. He was a drunk going into it, and that's not being rude. Being factual is not being rude.
No, you're not being rude at all. You're
somebody. Yeah, just in case. Oh, well, he's dead. You shouldn't speak ill of the dead. No, it's a fact. It's an observable fact. He was
Mr. Kennedy's another great shout. Yeah. Would you include? I was thinking about it because obviously we know that Batista had his, and I'm not saying Batista's a missed opportunity. I'm just saying what happened before Batista got into Evolution. But obviously, Batista had some really bad injuries in 2003, which delayed him joining Evolution. And eventually got the break by attacking Goldberg. Right choice.
Batista.
But I was going to say, he was the right choice because he had the look and he definitely actually could do more. I was going to say Mark Jindrak.
Mark Jindrak was supposed to be originally in Evolution and got bumped for Batista. Mark Jindrak
was the other way around. It was Batista got injured. Jindrak was then paired with them, but then the minute they found out Batista was back, they booted him out.
Yeah, but Mark Jindrak probably deserved it more. Batista, and this is one of those things I don't speak on very often. For people who say that I have zero experience in wrestling, that Batista Undertaker program belongs to yours truly. I
love that program.
I don't speak on it very often. People who say I don't know anything about wrestling, that whole fucking program belongs to me. Okay? And that's the only time I'm ever going to speak on it. It's that one time when WWE listened to an outside source. I didn't get paid a dime for it, but a lot of what went into that angle was my idea all the way across the board. I don't care. I'm not going to have an argument about it. It happened.
Not that I want you to clown on WWE Korea for anything like that, but what do you mean it belongs to you? Like, did you actually propose the Taker Batista? Like, what?
Yes, that was something I saw coming together years ago, and it's a long story. It's a very long. I'll tell you about it off camera sometime. But Batista was an absolute bastard to work with.
Just ask Booker T.
No, I mean, he was a bastard even before. They're like, nah, we don't know. We'll put it together. And then when they saw it, they put it together in a random house show, and it flew.
Yeah.
Because that's why, WWE works random house shows to work out their creative. That's the main reason they have whatever they're calling them now, super shows. They do that to work out creative. They do creative tweaks at those shows, which is why they're not anything like a televised show. They put it together in a random show, and I want to say this was actually one of those Biloxi, Mississippi shows. And the fans just lost their shit over, and they're like, okay, kid, this is a good idea. That was literally how it was. Never got paid a dime for it or anything. Don't care. Everybody's going to say it didn't happen, but it did happen. And I don't care. But
Rhino's a great shout as well, by the way. The guy, Rhino's a great shout.
Batista was his own problem, and I don't care. It's another one of those where we sit here and talk about things that could have been and wasn't. 99% of the time that it wasn't was because of the actual performer.
Yeah.
And I unabashedly, I say Batista was an asshole to work with. I've never liked him. That could have been my shot to get in Stanford, and it just got all derailed and stupid and ugly. So that was my program.
Unfortunately, it happens.
But
the guy suggested Rhino, good shout. Boxing Dream came in with a name that I actually think is spot on. unpopular opinion, I don't think GBL got the credit he deserved. I don't like the guy in real life, but he was a proper heel. He was hated because he was meant to be. He was the best at drawing heat. GBL was bang on the money, the perfect heel for that period, and thank fuck for Eddie Guerrero that Eddie Guerrero saw it first. He's like, I will gladly drop the title, but I'm not dropping it to Kurt Angle. He did obviously he never said he hated Kurt Angle. We know that he loved Kurt Angle. But he said the best person you need to go for right now is the richest snob that you've got on this show, who's on Fox News, which we all know they're well, obviously I'm not American, but even I know Fox News and their racial agendas are fucking disgraceful. But GBL ties in because he's making money. He's a multi-millionaire by his own work. He worked really well. He wrote his own books. So Eddie went, we can do a smart program here. Make him champion. And it was one of the best runs. I loved his heel run, even though obviously I was meant to hate him, but I still loved the work. Like,
I know.
So good, so good.
And Paul Heyman actually, that was a shoot at ECW. The main reason that worked is Hunter didn't want to work Tuesdays. That's the best line I've ever. That was the best line I've ever heard because it was the absolute truth. Hunter didn't want to work Tuesdays because the main show, the A show Raw, shot live on Monday, and then the B show SmackDown
taped on a Tuesday.
Taped on a Tuesday, and Hunter didn't want to work Tuesdays. So yeah, JBL is underrated to an extent.
Thank God for Ron Simmons for pushing him in that direction as well. Like Bradshaw will absolutely credit his entire career to Farouk.
Ron Simmons was one of the boys. Ron Simmons was one of the boys.
Would you agree on this comment? He says Jeff Hardy. He knows it could have been more if he didn't have his personal demons. I think if you're a 6-time world champion, regardless of your personal issues, you've done something right. But obviously he could have been a lot more though.
I think Jeff Hardy. Everybody made fun and started heating up on when he said he could have been John Cena before John Cena was John Cena.
I think he was telling the truth.
I have no reason to doubt that. Plus, he had the ability. Plus, he had the added attraction of actually being able to fucking wrestle. That always helps, you know.
Like one thing is true. Like obviously, he really did fuck up himself with all the misdemeanors and DUIs he had, or every time he got drunk, or his addiction problems. But long story short, and John Cena fans are not going to like this, but there's many I know that are actually at least reasonable. In 2008, John Cena's merch was outsold by Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy's a better performer. All the way around, Jeff Hardy was a better performer. He had more charisma. He had more in-ring accolade. He had more in-ring acumen than most of the people of his time. He knew that ring really well. He just got caught up in drugs and alcohol. I mean, that happens. Raven got caught up in drugs and alcohol for a little while, and it derailed him.
Badly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it derailed him. It doesn't mean that Raven's not one of the most, if not the most cerebral person to ever do it.
Oh yeah, massive.
I mean, he could very well be the most cerebral person to ever do this. But
you've got no idea how big his merch was. I'll tell you this for a fact. Jeff Hardy won the title in the last pay-per-view, 2008 Armageddon.
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy was supposed to win the title at 2008 SummerSlam. He was supposed to take the title at SummerSlam, but obviously he got suspended for 60 days for breaking their wellness policy. Yeah, and obviously he lost the Intercontinental title to Chris Jericho on Raw. He was taken out of the Money in the Bank ladder match that he was apparently going to win, not CM Punk. And obviously he had to build up, even though his merch was still selling, he had to rebuild trust again. So that's why it was given to the Great Khali on SmackDown. And Jeff Hardy worked. He worked MVP in a losing effort. Marty Jannetty, I don't think was
Marty Jannetty was a scrub. He was a scrub from day one. He was a scrub at World Class Championship Wrestling in the 70s and 80s. Or the 80s.
That's why Shawn Michaels was right with what he did. If I was Shawn Michaels, I would have put him through glass windows 10 times over.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels was the star in that tag team. Back then, let me break this one out here because people don't understand where tag team wrestling actually comes from. Tag team wrestling started honestly as a way to put over a talent without him having to work the entire match. That was the whole purpose of having tag team wrestling. Most everybody you know of from the old days, I'm talking Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Bruiser Brody, Steamboat. I could literally just sit here and name a who's list. Started in a tag team where they could get moderate exposure, and all Warrior and all Ultimate Warrior and Sting were a tag team. Just to give you an idea, the Blade Runners. So Marty Jannetty was just the second guy for Shawn Michaels all the way through this Midnight Rockers thing, because Shawn Michaels was the talent. Marty Jannetty was the enhancement. He always was and always will be.
They were a good tag team as well. I also look at that time as well. Everyone knows that I'm a huge Bret Hart fan, but the Hart Foundation is my favorite WWE tag team of all time. Yeah. But Neidhart was the same. Neidhart was there to put over Bret Hart. He was there to put over Owen Hart.
Yeah, that was his job.
If he hadn't been such an absolute screw up, Dynamite Kid wouldn't have been a problem for British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. He's another one, unfortunately, who could have had more, but it's a shame. I don't like talking about ill will wrestlers that are dead, but like they're the same. Like their personal afflictions were their own demise, and it's horrible. Yeah. But that's shit hits the fan, and it comes back to it. But we see where we go. But ironically as well, it does tie in really well to the next match, which is where shit hits the fan and it goes wrong about talent who are used wrongly, and it's your TNT champion. He faces Shibata, and I want to say this in the nicest way. One, terrible commentary. Please stop putting Matt Menard on commentary. Secondly, pack up Daniel Garcia and Shibata. This is one of his worst matches I've ever seen. It really was. It didn't hit me at all.
It was hard to work this match to a passable state, and we've got Daniel Garcia fans out there, which I appreciate that. I know Orange Cassidy has fans. You know,
Catherine.
That fat dude sitting on the couch in the jumpsuit has fans. You know, the one that's finally decided he's going to lose weight because he weighs 650 pounds and all this other shit. He has fans. Daniel Garcia cannot do this at a high level. He cannot. And I would rather keep him at mid card or below than to put him up, because see, here's the infallible part of this. Here's what's going to wind up happening. Let's say Tony puts a rocket on Daniel Garcia. Let's say that. Let's see. Let's say he puts a rocket on Daniel Garcia.
I'm only kidding, Catherine. We know it's a joke.
Where do you get when he gets there? What do you get when he gets there? You get a dude walking out and that's it. Once he gets in the ring, he has to fucking wrestle. And at 100, they said he was 187 pounds, and he's like 60 feet tall. Like a good stiff wind will blow him away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where I cannot suspend disbelief. I cannot suspend disbelief for Orange Cassidy or Daniel Garcia. I just can't do it. I tried. I literally last night sat there and did my very best on the watch along to go, oh, well, that was good. And in the back of my mind, I'm sitting here going, Shibata can't even get him to a passable match. And I'm looking for stuff. I'm looking for stuff to comment and be positive about. But it was very few and very far between. And trust me when I say this, when I finished that match, in the back of my mind, I was like, thank God this is over. Oh, and by the way, New Japan's coming on here shortly. Palate cleanse.
I'm actually gonna look for something right now, because there's another thing that really bugged me as well. That match went far too long.
God, it went forever.
I'm actually going to see if I can find how long that match went, because that match went I think it went over. I think it went close to 12 minutes.
Yeah, if you go for the reviews, that the dipshit who the SRS, if you go to some of his reviews, they give match times with them.
Oh, I would rather be shot in the head by a sawed-off shotgun than read any of his reviews. I'm not even joking.
No, I'm not reading them. I'm just saying he puts the time beside the match. That's all. You don't have to read it. It just he gives you the time right up front. That's all.
Oh, the guy. That's a controversial one. Personally, I think people overrate Eddie as the main guy. He was only a top guy from 03 to 05. Great performer. He was a mid-carder most of his career. I mean, you're not wrong. He was a mid-carder, but I disagree that they overrate him as a main guy. His main guy run was excellent.
Yeah, I am the furthest from woke. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Eddie Guerrero. No, you're fine. I'm just gonna say, without Eddie Guerrero, you do not get Rey Mysterio in the main event scene, even though he shouldn't have been there in the first place. You don't get Booker T taken seriously again after having the WrestleMania 19. You don't take GBL seriously as a main event heel. You don't take Kurt Angle seriously after the shit that he had to do with Luther Reigns, and then they made him GM. But Eddie Guerrero was a perfect foil for him. And also, Eddie Guerrero was the last great match that Brock Lesnar had in WWE before he fucked off to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, his last good match was against Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, the Iron Man match on SmackDown.
Yeah, and let me preface all of this by saying I am the furthest from woke you will ever run into. If you watch one of my shows, you know I'm the furthest from woke you will ever run into. Like, woke is 6 states away from me.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, professional wrestling up and until the modern times that you guys are actually enjoying was all right because it was all white. Mm-hmm. That's why Eddie Guerrero was a mid-carder, because he wasn't white. We wanted white guys. I'm going to tell you right now, they still glaze that Alex kid from fucking WCW, the German kid, Alex Wright.
Oh, yeah.
They still glaze the shit out of him, and he wasn't nothing but a beanpole with a blonde, like a fake blonde hair and a fake tan, and he did the same stupid shit that this guy here does, the TNT champion.
Daniel Garcia.
He does. He did the same stupid fucking dance, literally. Go back and watch Alex Wright. But it was all right because he was all white. And that's
your personal favorite, Disco Inferno?
Oh, God. Me and Disco get into it all the time. Disco had white skin. Otherwise, if he looked too Italian, he wouldn't be anything but the disco jobber. I'm dead serious. I mean, that's the way wrestling worked. You didn't have black champions. You didn't have Hispanic champions. You damn sure didn't have gay champions. And you didn't have, you didn't have women in anything more than show us your titties. That was the women's role in most wrestling when I was growing up. So, yes, Eddie Guerrero was a mid-carder because he was Mexican. If he'd have been white with all that talent, he'd be in every damn Hall of Fame all around the world. He'd be in Hall of Fames he didn't even know existed. So
that is great news. Thank you, James. Good. I really do appreciate that. I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, we're glad to hear Melina's okay.
Yeah, I cannot find.
I'll get it for you real quick.
I can't seem to find them. Yeah, I can't seem to find them. I think they went well over. They went well over 12 minutes. I'm pretty sure, but honest to God, it was ridiculously awful. It was not worth it. If you want to watch Collision last night, guys, skip this match. Skip it. Like, just the whole thing, start to finish, bell to bell, entrance, just completely skip over it. You would be doing yourself a service of sanity by skipping it. However, we come back to Chris Jericho in a hat making his entrance for the main event.
Oh, God.
We have Cowboy Jericho making his entrance to the ring for his main event match versus Dax the Axe Harwood. And I just want to say one thing.
This match was horrible. This match sucked. It should have never been on television. It was terrible.
there's actually a moment about this match that has been clipped so many times, and it did get a certain person's attention that is quite controversial as well. It got the attention of Jim Cornette.
Oh God!
It got his attention. I'm going to show you exactly what he tweeted, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to see what he thought of it, prepare to laugh, because he slayed it. And I'll be honest, I don't normally agree with Jim Cornette, but I will agree with this. The whole situation with the Ring of Honor title belt, that was pathetic. That was sloppy as hell. So bad.
I'll have a time for you here in a minute. Just hang on. I've got a page that's got the times. I'm just having to scroll through all this shit.
I know. I'm going to see if I can find it so everyone can laugh at this. Because even I was like wanting to.
Daniel Garcia and Shibata got 11 minutes and 25 seconds to retain the TNT Championship. 11 minutes and 25 seconds that felt like 5 fucking hours. But yeah, that's right. ProWrestling.net. ProWrestling.net puts the times on their matches too. So I was surprised that Pac's match was only 8 minutes. It felt like it was a fucking eternity too. But yeah, I mean, Daniel Garcia, that was 11 minutes and 25 seconds of my life that I will never get back. And I'm angry about that.
It was so bad. Oh, the video's actually been deleted, but it was the whole entire segment of the title belt. But Jim Cornette's reaction to the whole sloppiness of using the title, he says, and I quote, "Can someone with experience in pro wrestling tell me what was supposed to be going on here?"
15 minutes and 25 seconds this match got. 15 minutes and 25 seconds felt like a fucking eternity.
That's 15 minutes that could have been used on Powerhouse Hobbs, proving why he's in the main event scene for next week.
Yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs could have had that squash. They didn't. I mean, they had Powerhouse Hobbs in the building. Now, I'm not trying to shit on what Brody did. Brody looked good, but that could have been Powerhouse Hobbs doing that squash. I mean, there's lots of things that could have happened. Powerhouse Hobbs could have come up right after that and said, "Anything you can do, I can do better," and he could have squashed some dude in a minute and a half. You know, that, I agree with you. There's a lot of segments that could have been used a lot of different ways. And, I mean, really, I'm giving it a mulligan across the board. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I'm giving it a mulligan for the weather, but we need to get a weather plan, Tony. Tired of giving shows mulligans for weather. You know, when you need to have a weather plan, and your talent needs to get on board with that. You know, it just, this is the one spot where Tony really needs to be a boss. You know.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing of it. But yeah, this Dax Jericho match got 15 minutes.
It was ridiculous. Catherine saying the best match of the night was Mariah May versus Harley Cameron. I think it was the second best. I still think the opener was the best match, Copeland versus Big Bill. I am surprised that wasn't the main event.
Yeah, I think that was a tie. To be honest with you, I think it was a tie. And I'm with you on that. Once again, we talked about this the last time, match order. Match order is crucial when you're building a show. Even when you got weather delays, match order is very important. You need to get real with yourself on this. You need to stop. I mean, you need to, and we need to stop pretending that it's great. That's the bigger part of it, because most of the pro AEW people are not as bad as the WWE people, but pretty damn close. I mean, I'm guilty of it.
They all do it as much as they want to. They do love to factually make their own opinions stronger than others when it isn't. Yeah,
I agree. And
we just need to be as honest as people just need to be honest. Like, it's not hard.
Yeah, AEW is not perfect. WWE is not perfect, but I still watch WWE because I appreciate some of the wrestlers that I watch. I watch AEW because I appreciate, most of the time, I appreciate the show. You know,
me too.
I really do. When New Japan came on, I don't know if you were in for the watch along last night, but the minute New Japan came on, I just forgot all about this main event thing going on because it was horrible, and I jumped right over to New Japan on the watch along.
I had you on my. I was quite exhausted just because of Chris Jericho stole the energy of me. So I had you on in the background. So you got a view from me on the background. But I definitely thought your watch along was quality.
Yes.
The show was good. The show was fun to watch. It's certainly up there. It's just a reality that right now, wrestling has an opportunity this year to be great. You just need to actually make it happen, and
yes,
we'll see if it does happen. Collision, I don't rate matches. Am I going to rate this show? Probably not. But if I had to, straight down the middle, I'm giving it half marks out of 10. I would say a 5. But
I was actually, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't particularly rate them because that seems like begging for. That seems like begging for trouble or asking for trouble, or you're going to get a different take on it. I think it could have been better. I know people are going to say the weather. You could have been better prepared, but the flow of the show was wrong. The flow of the show was wrong, and the order was wrong, but it wasn't the worst, but it could have been better. It could have been better.
It could have been. I thought that considering where they were at, Athens, Georgia, there is a lot of talent that could have been utilized for this show that wasn't.
A 4-on cage match.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there were things that could have been done differently. Leo Rush lives in Atlanta. That was a missed opportunity. You could have gotten Leo Rush to drive the 85 or 100 miles to Athens and give you some good repetition in there. You could have mixed him in. There were people that could have been there and I understand what Tony's trying to do. I don't agree with it, but I said at the beginning of the show, going forward, when you're going to work areas like California, this is what kills me. San Jose, they didn't have a problem getting talent there. They didn't have a problem having fans filling the building up. And they got a damn wildfire up in Los Angeles right now, eating up all the resources for public safety and everything else. And they still managed to put on one hell of a show last night. It was
exactly,
man, that thing was. I'm starting to like New Japan because it's almost starting to be spiritual when I watch it. I mean, some of this stuff is literally spiritual when I watch it. So I don't understand.
Souls. They save souls.
I mean, I don't understand how in the world New Japan, on its heels, on the back of its heels, can put on that show in San Jose with that wildfire raging in LA with all the resources jacked up and still fill the building for that show, and you can't do it with 2 inches of snow on the ground. I'm confused. Help me.
Not either. I think it's just a cheap excuse.
Well, I don't think it's cheap. I live here. I don't think it's a cheap excuse. I know we don't have road crews. I know it's not safe. But why in the world could you not? I mean, we've been knowing about weather going on here now for weeks because part of what I do in my shoot job is take care of my guys so they don't get stuck in snowstorms. So I knew about the weather for the last 2 weeks. I'm sitting there thinking, I hope Tony's got a plan for this. And that's exactly how I look at it because I know it's coming.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I hope Tony's got a plan for this. And then you get down to D-Day and it's like, we're getting talent in as best we can. I'm like, you don't have a plan for this. It's amazing.
That's where my whole idea of it's an excuse comes in. You know what I mean? Like, because I think he knew. I just think he wasn't really bothered, and I think that's the worst thing. He didn't seem bothered, and I'm like, you've just wasted people's time, and that's not
money.
Exactly. And I was like, you can't do that.
Yeah, you don't get fans that way. You don't get fans doing that.
It needs to be looked into. It needs to be looked into in that way. It's just gone 8 o'clock here, UK time. But what more have you got coming up on your channel?
We're not doing WWE stuff right now, so I will be live again on Wednesday for the Dynamite Watch Along. I will do Ring of Honor on Thursday. I will be skipping Friday and then working Collision Saturday. And I think New Japan's got an event Sunday morning that kicked off. I think it's going to kick off at like 2 a.m. Sunday morning. if I'm feeling particularly randy, I think I will go ahead and do that. I'm not exactly 100% sure. Yeah, I do speak the language, by the way. Um, if I'm feeling particularly randy, I might actually do it. So
it's a beautiful language.
yes, it is. I do. I worked a tiki bar down in Orlando for 2 years on International Drive, which is your backyard. So, or it used to be. I don't know if it's the UK's backyard anymore, but it used to be the UK's backyard.
Once upon a time.
So I had to learn it. It's been 20 years, but I did learn the language, at least how to properly use it. So
yeah.
I mean, like I said, if I'm feeling particularly randy, I'll probably do that show as well. And I don't know. I'm just straight New Japan, AEW. I will do PLEs. That includes for NXT. But as far as their regular weekly episodic programming now, I just watch it. I don't try to do a watch alone because I refuse to be fake about it. I refuse to pretend shit is a shillelagh, so to speak. I refuse to do that. I refuse to glam all over shit. And when it's shit, it's shit. Like I'm saying today, the Collision show was shit. I mean, I'm not glazing. I find
I've done the same since the turn of the year. All my shows have been relatively consistent, even though people think I hate one over the other. I don't. I hate a certain.
I hate bad programming. I hate bad programming. You give me bad programming. You could have two idiots standing there fighting. If the programming's good, I'll be like, well, I didn't particularly care for the talent, but the show was good. Yeah, I see that all the time. I watch a couple of them on Triller every once in a while that are nothing but hot dumpster fires. But they're presented correctly, and it looks good. I mean, I have no clue who these guys are, and they're doing just the most outrageous, stupid-ass gimmicks.
But they're treated seriously.
Yeah, but you look at it, and you're like, well, it's not a bad show. The gimmick's stupid. That's what got me started watching GCW. If you look at GCW from the outside looking in, it looks like a dumpster fire.
Same Bloodsport. Bloodsport came across as an absolute mental idea by Josh Barnett, but guess what? It actually works and it stands true to the talent because everybody gets a go.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. The Bloodsport thing looks really good. If you've got a well-booked show, you can have shitty talent. You can have the greatest talent in the world, and if you have a shitty book, it's going to be horrible every time. And a lot of these little promotions prove that. Yeah. MLW proves that. You can have monikers of mediocre talent and make a damn good show with it as long as it's booked correctly. I think they need to get Eric Bischoff the fuck away from that show, but that's just me. Defy looks freaking good out there on the West Coast. And once again, they have mediocre talent, but they know how to book it and they know how to schedule it and they know how to present it. And they also know when to not put a mic in Ricky Starks' hands so they can actually have that match coming up.
Pro here in the UK as well, they've shown themselves how good they are. It's good to see. And
oh God,
they're just not taking the piss. They're doing it right, and they're actually giving opportunity where opportunity is, and they're letting it run. And that's what you need to do. Let it run. Let certain things breathe. Don't insult your fan base. Don't insult a fan base you're trying to bring in.
Exactly.
You'll be enjoyed. That's the manner of pro wrestling. It's so easy. It's so simple.
Yeah,
they all make the mistake.
Yeah, I'm bringing progress in on my regular watch-alongs. I really am. I'm bringing progress to my regular watch-alongs along with New Japan because if I can stay up for New Japan, I can stay up for Riho. Riho's a friend of mine.
Good show.
Yeah, I mean, I can stay up for Riho.
Riho's cool.
Yeah, Riho's cool. If I can stay up for New Japan, I can stay up for Riho. Riho's good talent and a good friend of the show. I mean, she's a good friend of the show. So I mean, that's what I'm feeling. That's going to be the next one. I was going to pick up Stardom, but I said, you know what? There's nobody in Stardom that fucks with me. So why in the world do I want to do that when I got all these Progress people that are just like, dude, you're cool. Why don't I just go ahead and do a show with them? That would work out better. So they're coming in next. So it's basically going to be AEW, Progress, New Japan, maybe a little bit of Stardom because they're only $5 a month. I can swing that. It's not a big deal. I can swing $5 a month.
You should check out Noah.
Noah, I'm thinking about, but the fact of the matter is that they got that dude out there almost right now, just like wrecking their entire thing.
He's actually looking really good over there. I'm
I
not an
know.
Omos fan. I'm absolutely not an Omos fan. I don't particularly like him, but I actually like what he's doing over there. He fits
Yeah.
really well. He
So
fits
we
really
might.
well. So
Yeah, I
you
mean, we
could,
might do that. We might add that into the list. But the main reason I dropped WWE was for my sanity. I don't want to try to. I don't want to try to
yeah,
catch.
no, I
catch
understand
a-
that.
yeah, catch an almost match, and I'll be like, he's almost. Anyway,
The way he's been presented in Noah is exactly how he should have been done in WWE. He looks like a killer, and he looks insane, and he fits
Yeah.
really well with Team 2000X. Like he looks excellent with them.
Mhm.
Obviously, Kaito and Ozawa, they're great going up against Jarkeno. Obviously, they've got Kenta for the rest of the year for the 20th anniversary. Yoshitatsu is killing it with them. Jack Morris.
Yeah.
It's really good over there, and obviously it's the last year of it's the last run for a while as well until whenever he comes back. But El Kiko Del Wagner is going back to CMLL, so his matches within Noah until he goes back are going to be specials. So
Okay.
there's
Well, I'll give
there's
him a
lot.
look. I'll give him a look. See what they got going on. I'll give him a look.
Oh, they're worth it. You would generally like it.
Yes, but that's basically what I've got going on
Good.
right now. I'm hoping that's a troll because it's ignorant.
Based on what, the guy? Based on
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I'm hoping that's a troll because there is no one in the wrestling industry that agrees with any of you guys that say that. And I'm talking about actual wrestlers. I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about bookers, promoters. Promoters right now are stepping all over themselves to get Mercedes on their show. So I don't understand where that's coming from. And I'm not.
I guess
upset or
like
anything.
people. I think the reason being is because some people do think that Mercedes tries to think that she's bigger than what she already is. I mean, I'm not the biggest Mercedes fan in the world. I think there's times where Mercedes genuinely is a bit of an idiot, but who isn't? But she last year she had a relatively good year. It could have been some of it could have been a bit different, but she's already
Yeah.
started 2025 strongly.
But I
And
mean,
I've got no issue with that.
she's just leaning into the heat. Same thing with Ricochet. Everybody's hating on Ricochet, and I think Aha is the greatest thing that ever happened to him.
It's quite funny because he's incorporated it into what he needs to do, and he's built the
Yeah.
program. We'll see what
Yeah,
he
I
does.
mean, he shit on the mic because nobody ever gave him training for it, and I get that. But he can solve that. You can fix
Yeah.
talking. Talking you
Yeah.
can fix. Ricochet's got something you can't breed, you can't build, you can't teach. He's
Yes.
got it. Same thing with Mercedes. She's got something you can't build, you can't breed, and you can't teach. She's got that in the ring. And literally, the first thing that if Scott D'Amore could have afforded her for the MLP show, she'd have been on the damn MLP show too. They want her. Scott D'Amore said if he could have afforded her, they want her. So I don't get it. I mean, and look, I know she's doing the WWE style promoing, and I think that's really bad for where she's at, but it's the only way she knows, and they don't have promo class. When she gets rid of that, when she gets that part of the rust off of her right now, I mean, that's the only ring rust she's got left. Is that WWE style of say hello to your CEO. I realize that sucks. I get
it's quite bland. Yeah.
It's very bland. It's very WWE-ish. She doesn't need to talk longer than 30 seconds. She needs a manager or a promo class. But her in-ring acumen right now, people are throwing bags at her. And I'm not talking about thousands. New Japan pays her around 300,000-400,000 to be on.
They are cruising money on her. They are cruising cash on her.
They are throwing cash at her because once she gets in that ring, it's over. She is the best right now doing it in women's wrestling. Long as she ain't got to talk for longer than 30 seconds. Let me qualify that. If she keeps it under 30 seconds, short, sweet, and to the point, you still can't beat her on that. But boy, once she gets past about 30 seconds on the mic, she sounds like an idiot. I get it.
Yeah.
But there is absolutely no promoter. There is no wrestler. There is no amateur wrestler that agrees with that.
She did I disagree with this. The way she spoke to that fan at that convention, I stand by it because that fan was genuinely coming at her in a way that was not relevant.
Yeah.
Like, why did you leave WWE? Constantly asking her questions that should not no reference.
She left
If I was in-
WWE because she was a black woman and they didn't like black people or women. That's why she left WWE. End of discussion, and she should just go ahead and say that.
The fans also as well, like the way she was being treated by fans.
Yeah.
Like, she wanted to go and support her. Like she literally wanted to support her friends. Like go and watch them do shows, and they got bitched by it. And
Yeah,
it was ridiculous. Like
her like I don't like Bailey at all, but her and Bailey are like total friends. She showed up for Bailey's match in the WWE as an AEW performer. She showed up for Bailey's match. They're friends. Nobody, I promise you, nobody in the wrestling world agrees with that narrative. Not one single person. Even people
I support the fact that she turned around to that fan because, long story short, wrestling fans. Here's a fun fact, and nobody's gonna like this. Wrestling fans outside of an arena or wrestling fans outside of a convention, when wrestling fans are near a wrestler in a public environment, wrestling fans are a disease. They are a disease that needs sterilized. And I'll tell you this for a fact. Even though he's got his own issues, but he's actually, when you think of it, he's actually got a good heart, even though he's got some issues of his own. What that fan did to Jeff Hardy at that airport is a disgrace. Having so many photos of him just so they can get his autograph. I would have told the guy to fuck off if that was me. I would have been like, no, it's not happening. Come to a convention or buy backstage passes to come to an event. Then I'll do it. I'm not doing it when I need to go to another state or another country.
Yeah. No, wrestling fans. I know this from being at the convention. Wrestling fans are toxic.
I've seen it soon. I saw it at AEW. I saw it when I was at Wembley. I saw it when I was at the TNA show in October. When I met Deonna Purrazzo and I met Chris Sabin, all that. I asked them some very interesting questions. But I asked them what they thought of wrestling fans. They meant wrestling fans at shows are great until you get them outside, because they are mental, and they're not mental in a good way. Like, you can have fans who will ask you about your career and they'll ask you genuinely good questions. I asked Rhino the same question. Rhino went, "Fuck this." His exact words were, "Fuck this."
Yeah, Rhino's dead direct and to the point. I talked to James Storm, and I
spoke to Scott D'Amore about it. He was at that show. I spoke to Scott D'Amore about it, and he's like, I just didn't like. He's like, I like wrestling fans until I'm in a public setting. I need to go somewhere because they will hold you back.
Yeah, they do. They're bad. But one thing that James Storm said is that, like, he would do an interview with me, but he has a hard policy about it now because he did an interview with a wrestling fan, and they took it completely out of context, and he had to go hire a lawyer to clear his name. Dead serious.
Yeah, the fan paid money. Yeah, the fan paid money for her autograph. But then if you actually look at the video, after he asked for the autograph, he started asking her questions that had no relevance.
Yeah.
Or anything personal to do. Like, there's stuff you can't do. That's one of them.
I check out groceries every week. I don't need to know the personal history of the person checking out my groceries. And I'm spending money in the grocery store. I don't need to know the personal history of the store manager. I don't need to know any of that stuff. I bought groceries. I take groceries home. You bought an autograph. You take autographs home. You don't own the personal life. That's where people get this thing. That's where they get it twisted. They're like, I bought a ticket. I don't care. Well, you buy a ticket to the movies. You don't get to wreck the movie.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Don't apologize. I agree. Like, that's like, for example, if Roman Reigns left WWE and he went to if he went to another company or if he went to Hollywood and they go, "Why'd you leave WWE?" He can turn around and say, "Well, I've done everything I wanted to do. It's time for me to move on." It's like if somebody asked Dwayne why he left WWE. Like, he already said it. I've achieved everything I had to achieve. Now it's time for me to move on.
I mean, the big piece of what they keep asking her about was to break it down in a nutshell, she's a black woman working in a white-based company that didn't like women in the first place. And quite frankly, WWE internally was pissed off about that 4 horsewomen thing. I mean, they were pissed off in levels you couldn't come up with. Because women are supposed to walk around in bra and panties. They're not supposed to wrestle. We got you for your tits and your ass. We didn't get you for your ability. And they just screwed all that up.
Not unless you could actually do it and you actually took yourself seriously.
Yeah, they screwed it up. So, I mean, WWE treated every single one of them like redheaded stepchildren except Charlotte Flair because Ric Flair had a prominent position in the company. But if it wasn't for that, Natalya, they treat her like shit. She had a fart gimmick for 2 years. Give me a break.
That was so bad.
She had a fart gimmick for 2 years.
That was bad. To be fair, I think she tried to. If you actually look at the video again, go back and watch the video. This is my last thing I'm going to say before we wrap up. If you go back and look at that video again, she does try to answer that in a professional way, but the guy keeps asking her, and eventually she just gets to the point where she snaps. Like, she actually does say, she just says to him, I left. Like, I need a change. Time to move on. And that's all she says. Like, it's time for me to move on. I've been there. I've done everything I wanted to do. Now I'm moving on. I'm going to do new things. And she keeps getting pressed and pressed. And it doesn't matter what talent you are.
Are we talking about the media scrum thing? Are we talking about her media scrum, or is this a fan interaction?
It's the video of her when she was at the fan convention.
Okay, that one.
Yeah. So when she got asked why, like, she's already paid, so she's already signing the autograph after the fan, like, asked for the autograph and all that. He's already paid for it. And then he's constantly asking her why she left WWE, and he keeps asking and asking and asking, and she keeps saying, I've left, I've moved on. She then snaps and she just goes after and nut at him because of that.
And where's all this energy for Jade Cargill? Jade Cargill had a fucking meltdown, like, I'm not in AEW anymore. I don't want to ever
meltdown. Her meltdown on that scrum was absolutely fucking hilarious.
And there was no energy for that. There was no same energy for that. There's nobody chasing her down going, why did you leave AEW? She left AEW for the clout. She left AEW to thinking she got the WWE. She was going to do movies and be like this black titan goddess that just is not happening.
Because she doesn't compare to Bianca Belair.
Yeah, she's not in Bianca Belair's category. She doesn't have the training. She just has the look. That's all she's got. In that ring, she's cold product. In that ring, she's dead. And I don't care what she thinks about that. She's horrible. And not one single person's got the same energy for her.
She's got a good look. She's presented well until you ring the bell.
Yeah, when you ring the bell, that shit's over with. Now you know what you got.
Exactly, and that's reality. That's reality.
She doesn't have Bryan Danielson to say, okay, do this. Let's fix this for the next match. She doesn't have that. She doesn't have that at all in WWE. But
even the top talent there aren't helping her either, because they're like, no.
Yeah, they're like, no. But my point is she doesn't get the same kind of energy as Mercedes Moné, who everybody, if the guy has to ask the question, he doesn't know anything about wrestling. Period. Her and Naomi left as a package deal. They threw the shit down and walked out the door because of the way they were being booked, because they were black women, and they didn't want to be treated like a black stereotype, and they didn't want to be treated like a tits and ass group. So they packed their shit up and walked out the building. That's why she left WWE. Widely publicized, the internet is your friend. Like, literally, they've got it. They spent months talking about it. That's why she left WWE.
And fun fact, if she does go back to WWE, because she's already said that she will go back. She's not a liar. She's not a hypocrite. She does say she would like to go back. If she does go back, she's going to be in the main event scene, and she's going to be treated like a main eventer.
When she gets there, she'll be treated even bigger than CEO, and it will work for WWE. All of a sudden, all these people that are doing this shit right now will be, Sasha Banks, you're so beautiful. You're so good. Oh, don't talk about Sasha. She doesn't need to talk that much. She doesn't. She's Sasha Banks. That's exactly what the hell's going to happen.
Yep.
And
you'll see a big change. You'll see a big change in it. And I still times think that she can maybe do a few things differently. That's normal. That's the same with everybody. But the reality of it is, there's a way to present her, and I agree with what you said. The right way to present her is not essentially so little mic time, but the right amount that fits her really well, but also have someone around her who can do that, and then just let her wrestle and work, because she can still have those matches with the talent that are still trying to present themselves. That's all it needs to be. Just be a veteran. You can do talking behind the scenes without needing to talk, but you can still lean in that way. If she does that, we've got something special. We'll certainly find out. Ironically, I'm not a fan of her, but Charlotte Flair does the exact same thing. Even though Charlotte Flair can do a good promo, her short promos are very, very good. Her short promos are very good.
Yeah, but if she has to go over 2 or 3 minutes, she's lost. She's lost.
She does. Sometimes she does come across an arrogant prick. She does.
Yeah.
She does. Like that's true. Mercedes Moné at times does come across as an arrogant prick.
If my cousin was Snoop Dogg, I'd be an arrogant bastard. Your point?
Oh yeah, I would be milking. I would be milking that. Like,
if my cousin was Snoop Dogg and I ran in those circles, I'd be an arrogant prick too. Snoop Dogg is like God around here. Yeah, that's my cousin. Whatever, or my uncle, or whatever.
I think she can definitely, in some ways, she can definitely be a little bit more genuine. That, like any human being in that sort of industry, they can be a little bit more genuine. But when she's in the ring, she is one of those that are untouchable. I do agree with the point that nobody's worth that amount of money. In the end, this is not like the 80s anymore. In the 80s, that amount of money was literally because it was a big culture shock. The 90s, it was big for money. Nowadays, it isn't really, because I don't think anyone's ever going to make that amount of money again. But she was offered that amount of money to do her job. No one's turning that down.
No.
Doesn't matter where it is, whether that be in WWE or AEW or even in New Japan. If they had that amount of money to cough up, nobody's turning that. No one's turning it down.
Yeah, you throw me $4 million a year to sit here and talk on television. I'll be here every day. I'll be here 7 days a week, 8 hours to 10 hours a day, and I'll just be sitting here babbling stupid shit. It doesn't matter.
I'd be like, ching ching into my bank account.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, pay me. I'm fine with that. I'll sit here and talk stupid shit all day. I would, and anybody would. And the people that go, oh, I would never do that. Yeah, you would. Yeah. If somebody dropped $4 million off on your doorstep and say, go be an idiot, you'd be the biggest idiot in town.
The only thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't be an idiot for a Saudi show, but I'd be an idiot for.
I wouldn't be an idiot for a Saudi show. No, there's no amount of money. There is no amount of money you can pay me to do a Saudi show.
Never.
But I mean, just when you look at it for what it, the only criticism that I have that's a legitimate criticism for Mercedes Moné is the fact that she is related to Snoop. Snoop does like wrestling. If I were her, I'd get in his ear and say, hey, Unc, I'm over here at this place called AEW. You think you could roll up on that one time for me and hook me up? That's the only, because if Snoop rolled up to AEW, all these WWE fans would be like, oh, Snoop's at AEW. I can damn sure assure you that nobody on the planet would go, oh, Snoop Dogg's washed. He's at AEW. Hell no.
No, you'd be like, what is he up to? You'd be all in. Wherever he goes, he's golden.
That's the only criticism that I have of Mercedes is she doesn't use her hook right. Because she's got that hook. Yeah. And Snoop still shows up on WWE events every couple of years. He's still the hottest act on WWE events all day, every day, twice on Sunday, especially for a WrestleMania. Yeah. That's the only criticism that I have of her right now is that she's not using that hook. Because if Snoop showed up at AEW, like I said before, I can guarantee you there would not be one person on the twits that would step up and go, oh, Snoop's washed. That guy would get canceled in 20 seconds.
It's why my last comment tonight is why Hogan was smart, because look how clever Hogan was with Dennis Rodman.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, he played that shit.
Exactly, and that's exactly what you do, and that's your strength, and that's what you run with. Guys, we've went...
Yeah,
exactly. No, I completely agree. Guys, we've gone 2 hours, 54 minutes.
Oh,
so,
God. That long?
I know. Yeah, doesn't feel like it. But we have done that. So thank you all for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to join us for future shows from next week onwards, drop your comments at the end of this video. When it does end, the comment section will appear. drop your comments in. You can be coming on any shows you want. You can join me. You can join my co-host Ailey, because she'll be returning next week, and that's going to be very, very fun. Matthew, you can certainly have a conversation with Ailey. I think she quite likes your back and forth, because she definitely likes it with Catherine. So, and Catherine will be joining us next week as well, so we can all get on that.
Oh, we can have a blast. Yeah, we can have a blast doing this. That'll be fun.
Exactly. And the content is everywhere. The weekly Steelchair is going to have an even bigger year. Please share this amongst your friends and family. There's certainly something that's going to be for everybody. This is all inclusive. It's all fun. Check out Graps TV, which is Matthew's channel. Check out the Mid podcast for Catherine. Check out Covalent TV for an alternative view on wrestling commentary that's different to mine. And stay away from JD from New York, because he'll poison you with shitty bald takes. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and always try this at home. I'm only kidding. Bye-bye.